Let me see here. Are we live? I
Yeah,
think we are. Yes, we are. Hey, welcome
we
back.
we're alive,
Hold on.
alive.
Let me double check.
I love that you're checking your pulse on the arm that you're wearing a smartwatch with a heart rate sensor on it.
I I
That
wanted
makes
to
me
double
happy.
check and yeah, just want to make sure that the watch is
For
accurate,
sure.
and so therefore I'll let the calculation go on the other side, and I'll calculate on this
One,
side.
two,
Two,
three.
three.
Wait, do I
I'm
count the
alive.
lubs and the dubs or just each lub dub? Oh
I
no,
don't-
I've lost count.
1001, 1002.
That's
Oh man.
right.
Yeah,
Getting
no,
that blood pressure up.
well, my blood pressure, well, hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. It's been an interesting week, but it's been busy
I'm
week for quite a
exhausted.
bit. I was
I
gonna
you
say,
know,
no, you win the
this
award
is
this week. I've been swamped with day job type of things going on that, and yesterday I was pretty much floored. So I was happy that I knew
for
things were
sure.
gonna get, I was gonna get exhausted. So I set the video for yesterday morning to post, and I was
Mhm.
like, thank God for auto posting and everything, because I did not have the energy to do things. But yes, kudos to you, my friend, and yeah, for sure you're knocking it out with the Duo, with the Vivo, with the O, and with the Xperia, and those Xperia Pro. There's a lot of O's in your videos if you noticed, and then
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I feel like there have been a few pros. Maybe one of them deserves to be called a pro. The
Pro.
others are a little bit more questionable as to whether or not they should be called pro.
I,
But I gotta say again, I'm exhausted, and yet this is the most fun I've been having for a Techtober into November
it's yeah, the
in
spill
years.
is spilling into November for sure. I know we're like today was like November 4th, and it
Yeah,
just it's such a long marathon realistically, and there's still so much things kind of going on, and we're not done. The year's not over, by the way, so just keep
not
that in
even
mind.
close. And
So
even getting to like track back,
mhm.
we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but like Xiaomi reached out and they were like, "Hey,
Nice.
did you ever get to spend some time with an F3?" And like that was what
Oh,
six
the
months
Poco sub
ago.
brand, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Nice.
I haven't played with a Poco, and I mean like my experiences playing with a Poco were limited to literally just like playing with it
Playing
one
with the
afternoon. The original Poco
Poco.
phone.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like an F3 just landed on my doorstep, and are like, okay, it's a phone.
It's a
This is
phone,
interesting that
and
Xiaomi is working back on this, but
the
we could
backlog
take
is
it for a
real.
spin
The
for
backlog is real.
sure.
When
So
Juan thought he was getting close to bringing down that number of things, it just keeps back up. It's
I
okay.
like this is what I like. I was getting a little eye rolly, and I appreciate it. Like this is the hardest I think we've worked for a Techtober in years, but it's kind of silly to like to look at everything that's come out in the second half of this year and not be lit up about something, if not everything.
Oh
Literally
yeah.
everything that I'm handling right now is legit exciting for someone out there, and I
hmm
feel like so much of that has been kind of rubbing off. I mean, you've been cranking out content too. I
Oh,
I I saw your TV video from
I
TCL. That's
I
awesome.
dude, I seriously, I've enjoyed TVs. Obviously, we've enjoyed TVs since we were kids. It goes beyond saying, but
I watch way too much TV.
yeah, I would like. Well, I know, and the thing about it is that yeah, smart TVs and everything has been around for a while, but the TCL, this like wow, I've my
It's
interactions
nice.
with TCLs up to this set have always been with Roku, sets.
Yeah.
It's always been TCL TV with Roku built in, and don't get me wrong, Roku has its own appeal. It has apps. But I never found it to be the UI that I was comfortable in. I always enjoyed like the Shield TV. I enjoyed Android TV as a UI for television. So I was very excited to check it out, and lo and behold, man, seriously, it has a few hiccups here and there, but like I would say 90% of the show, it's nice. The speakers are good. 4K, 4K to 120 hertz is like crazy nice. Like seriously, oh my god. So yes, I have been enjoying that for quite some time.
Yeah, it's real pretty.
And I know you got the wait. Did you get the 55 or yeah? You got the
So
55 version.
I got a class 6. I finally got my wall mount adjusted. It was just a little too high.
Too
So on
high.
my
Yeah.
Samsung it mounted way more towards the top of the TV and was kind of
Mm-hmm.
more evenly spaced, and
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
the mount is nearer the bottom of the TV, so it was
It
just
is.
raking my ceiling. I had to
It's
drop the
the.
entire wall mount
So I'm
to
assuming
get
yours
it
is
in
the same
place.
as the unit that I have, where it seems like it's thinner at the top and thicker at
Oh
the
yeah,
on the bottom. So yeah, that was actually a challenge for me to be able to mount it over where my because
for
Samsung's
sure.
also a lot lighter, which I was surprised
A
how much
lot
lighter.
lighter.
And this
I mean, I've been
substantial.
I've been trying to work out a bit more, and I mean, like, the Samsung, I have no issues, just like flinging it over my
Yeah,
head,
yeah, yeah,
snapping it onto
exactly.
a
Yeah.
wall mount. It's perfectly fine. Like,
I,
I
I
was walking up my little step stool with this Class 6 going, oh no, I don't know if my abs can keep my body straight enough for this to not come tumbling back and smash me in the face.
was like face palm with
Okay.
the 55. Yeah.
There was a cheek smudge that I had to clean off of this TV after I got it mounted.
I ended up going
It was
for some
pretty
help with the
funny.
missus. I caved. Well, I'm not caved,
Well,
but I needed
I
help.
needed
Yeah.
I needed Marie to guide me
Oh,
because,
yeah.
like I said, the
Obviously,
Samsung I could easily like angle and see and get
hmm
it installed myself. This
I like how
TCL
you
I
said
needed to
angle and
just go
see, and the camera
straight,
angled with you.
and I needed Marie. So Marie couldn't help lift.
Hmm.
I needed her to like see where the mount was so that I could get
Yeah.
it, because there was no way I was gonna like, keep it all on my left arm and then guide it with my right. I needed both hands
You needed
evenly out in front of me. So
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot, but this is like the nicest TV I've used in a while. I've gone through Vizio,
Hmm.
LG, and I'm
I've
so
gone through
happy
LG and
to
Samsung
be
and
rid of my Samsung now. Like,
oh my
my
God, it is
Samsung was
so.
was just by the day turning into hotter and hotter garbage. It was so rough.
Well, mine was breaking down. It was seriously like going through its own phases of gradual little
Same,
breaks of things.
same.
Um,
But at the same
Apps
time, Samsung was
disappear.
also actively making it worse. So I
Oh,
went from having
every
little
update.
taskbar ads to
Hmm.
having bottom quarter screen ads to having upper screen third of a display ads. And then at the same time, the picture was failing.
Hmm.
It was doing this glitchy garbage where, when you're watching a show like on Netflix and it
Yeah.
shrinks down the show that you're watching to show you what you're going to watch next
Yeah.
or to cue you for the next
So yeah, yeah. Cue for
episode.
the next episode.
It wasn't like burn-in. It would be this after image garbled digital noise rectangle where that mini
Mini
view was.
next episode.
And I would have to
Watch.
completely unplug the TV, reboot it, plug it back in, and that would get rid of it. But it was like, it would kind of happen every now and then. Then, like every other episode, then literally every single time that shrink view would happen, I would just get noise in this mini rectangle, no updates. And then it stopped being able to connect to Samsung servers. So it would keep saying, oh, we can't see what's on the internet. Everything's gone. And so we were already using a Chromecast, and the
Planned
TV
obsolescence, huh?
was breaking using the Chromecast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This
No, I
is
know.
ridiculous.
So yeah, no, it is definitely I would try, yeah, definitely planned obsolescence. If anything, the software, everything breaks down just in
We
time to
spent
buy a
so
new one.
much on that TV. I'm never buying another. I mean, people already know how cranky I get about Samsung anyway, but I am never buying a Samsung appliance, a Samsung TV. I mean, it was so expensive, and it just started melting down. Like, as soon as it kind of got to a point where it's like, okay, I guess you need an upgrade, like stuff failed on that
Well,
TV hard.
I am very happy to say, first and foremost, thank you very much to the team over at TCL for hooking it up, because
Same.
that was like epic timing, if anything.
Same.
So for me, it was always some different issues here and there. And the last time I bought the Samsung though was, do you remember Fry's, that company that used to exist?
I remember when fries existed.
Yeah,
Was it
that
that long ago?
it wasn't. But what actually, so that's when I bought my TV, the last Samsung TV that I had. And but no, I don't. Obviously, we're not going to make the whole show about it. But TCL definitely makes the last three TVs that we've purchased, one for my mother-in-law and one for my mom, have all been TCL with Roku, and have been solid performers. Very easy to set up, very easy to learn, especially for my in-laws and my mom, a little bit older. Not easily, with the smart TV things. They just want big buttons, easy to recognize and
Sure.
work with.
Roku is
So
perfect for that.
oh, absolutely. And I think even Google TV would have worked, but I feel like Google TV needs a little bit more understanding that, like, you need
Yeah,
to ask the assistant to open the Google Play Store to update your apps because they don't update by themselves for some reason. Little there, but
for sure.
I like the way it works. So for sure, very happy. And again, I'll say first and foremost, obviously, welcome to everybody in the chat. We have Darren in there, JA in there, Gabrieletta. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly. With there, and then of course, I think it was Tech for Your Nerds is in there as well. But one thing I will probably say is you're teasing, and of course, terrible TK, terrible. Back in my days, there was this place called Fry's Electronics where all the geeks used to shop. Yes,
Oh yeah, I mean, you knew what was up when you hit a Fry's.
you knew if
I miss
Fry's had
that
had
vibe
a Black
so
Friday
hard.
special, that's all you got there. You got like hordes of geeks standing in line with their flyers and
And just
waiting to pick up
racks
the.
and racks of components and hard
Dude, that was my
drives and
jam. And what
routers and
I hated talking
cables.
to people there because they don't know what they're talking about, but it was just the best place to find like little gems and like if you want to start up learning how to build up computers, they had components lined up in the right areas. I
Oh
miss
man,
Fry's.
like the Fry's out here in the valley, the last time I went to it, it was like,
Oh, the
you
Alice in
guys
Wonderland.
still have DDR3 in your display case for RAM?
They're keeping
Why
the
would
oldies
you
running,
do
man. The
that?
classics. You got to keep the classics going.
I mean, it was a really sad like wasteland the last time I walked through
It
one.
it
I'm
it
still
did.
mad that I didn't when I heard that they were legit shutting down. It was actually I got a message from the PR rep that I work with for Me Audio,
Oh,
and they were
okay.
like, "Hey, we were trying to work on something for some coverage. It all kind of fell apart. But one of the reasons why, and the timing on it kind of blew up in our face, was the crew at Me Audio. They run a tiny little shop down in City of Industry,
Hmm.
and they got a call same day from the Fry's dispatch saying, by the way, we're closing all our stores and we're basically just going to have like boxes full of your gear and extra inventory if you want to just like come pick it up.
Come pick
Otherwise,
it up.
it's just going to get dumped. And they're like, "Oh, okay,
Oh man,
we'll
that is.
come get that from." I mean, it was I mean, like, I'm not exaggerating in that it was that unprofessional, that off the cuff. By the way, everything's getting liquidated. Thanks so much for all of your collaborative partnerships, but bye.
Bye
And
bye.
and
Oh
they had to
man,
send someone in like
go
in
pick
car.
up a
They had to
U-Haul
send
and
people in
something. Yeah,
cars
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah. Oh yeah,
go
cars.
to the
Okay.
few Fry's locations that were left to go and get this like leftover inventory. It
I
was absolutely insane.
I've been to. Oh man, how many Fries have I been to? So I've been to two here. There's the Nevada
Hmm.
one. There's the Northern California one, and I think that's as much as I've been to.
So
Or I
I,
don't know if
I,
there.
I know of three. I hit the UFO store, the Alice in Wonderland store, and the one out in Vegas.
Yeah, so the Vegas one I had to hit because obviously we go to Vegas every single time we pass it. And then there
And
was one in San Jose.
the last time you would have hit a CES, there was this one tiny little window. The Vegas store
We're
became
still.
their flagship,
Yep.
where anything that they had to physically sell
Hmm.
was pulled from all of the California stores and was
Just to
sent to
go
the Vegas store just so it could look like they had one showroom that was well stocked.
because of the international visitors, they wanted to get the coverage. Jeff is covering it to say, yeah, the Bay Area had three different Fries. The one I went to, I think Jeff was, I want to say is the Inca Temple. That's the one I remember. And then of course, yeah, there's the UFO. We have Burbank. That was Burbank. Alice in Wonderland was my first and my place. And then of
That's the one we
course,
took Lex to the first time.
yeah.
Like she was
And
in a
so I've
stroller
taken
and we
Omar
needed
there
to.
multiple times, so he totally knows where Fry's is, and he
Yeah.
loved the one in Vegas too. So yeah, for sure. I see Greg is in there, and of course Jeff is hanging out with us on this evening. So let's start talking about the big. Obviously, Xperia has been the biggest part of our conversations for the last week, or maybe a couple of weeks. No, actually 2 weeks, right? Because last week was the launch event. I mean, the week before.
That feels like a month ago.
It does feel a little bit, doesn't it?
It's
Like it's
crazy.
been
That's fast.
We got to spend more time with this Xperia, they feel like, than others, for at least for me, because I've typically the window that we get them is so short.
Yeah, when Sony PR has these kind of engineering samples for us to play with, I don't know how much we're really supposed to say, but usually our window of getting to test drive these is like days.
Yeah.
Like if we get them for a week, that's kind of a big deal. This one felt like we got a couple weeks, and I was able to shoot ahead a couple videos that are gonna be coming out later on the channel, and then also doing a bit more of a more in-depth camera examination. But what I was using, and I'm pretty sure you were in kind of the same boat. This was not retail. This was not even like on the update lists. You know.
No,
so
I don't think we
if
see.
there
Yeah,
were-
not one update. Actually,
I just
nothing.
don't think
Yeah,
it was
no.
capable of getting anything.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's
outside of,
actually
like,
set up on
app
the
updates.
servers for OTAs. I think it's that early
This
of
was
an
an
engineering
demo,
Yeah.
full on. So
But yeah, and,
So
and typically,
I'm being very sort of
Vague.
I'm trying to be candid about what it is that we got to play with, but then also like I'm trying to be sort of I'm trying to find like how to be considerate of, well, I might have run into a few sticky bits here, but that doesn't mean anything because the phone I'm using is literally an engineering demo,
But
which
see-
is in no way, shape, or form what consumers are going to experience.
but that's very important to specifically mention in the video that you are using an engineering unit, and that some of these things could be could be potentially software issues that will obviously be fixed down the road when the unit is finalized.
Well, no,
we don't even
I mean,
know if the hardware is going to change.
TK, if we had 10 times more subscribers, then we could just go out there and say,
Review.
well, you sent it to me, must be ready for prime time. I can't be fair and consider those kinds of nuances.
I want to say I saw somebody
So-
reviewing it on the day of the embargo. I saw one person title the video review. I really was like, are you serious?
I don't believe
Review
you.
of what? No, so it was the title. I think was it unboxing and review of the Xperia.
Oh,
one,
that's already
Xperia
that's
Pro.
already
I don't know,
BS.
and I was like,
That
okay.
already makes me crazy. I
Like,
love it.
It was. And
I don't,
but
I
it
don't
was a
want to
big
talk.
YouTuber.
I don't want to talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
that jerk. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't even want to bring it up. The phone is awesome, even
It
at
is.
like 80% functionality. It is one of the most monster performer content creator devices I've ever had the pleasure of playing with.
Absolutely, and
And-
I'm sad my time with it has come to an end. But it was more about, looking forward to some of the other things you can actually talk about a little bit more.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
baby's-
proper jealous that you do have Xperia One Mark III back in house. I'm seriously considering whether or not I need to just order it.
Oh my God!
and
Can
have it in the
I get
lineup.
it to focus? Yes, Sony loves Sony. Sony will like Sony. I was like, dude, come on, focus. Like it does amazingly on regular focus, but like today, okay, well at least it's behaving. a little bit, but-
There's that Sony AI game
AI
recognizes game.
with Zeiss all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm very happy. Well, I'm sad that my time with the Pro has gone, but I'm very happy that the time with the One Mark III is back. So I'll be definitely rocking that one. Definitely, since the 120 hertz, the 4K 120 hertz display is full on gorgeous. Just gorgeous.
And it's
yeah.
it's all of the little lifestyle-y improvements too,
Mm-hmm.
where especially taking the Pro out, and you're like,
Yeah.
as much as I really still like my Xperia One Mark II, it's so much easier to read this screen outside on the One Mark III and the Pro I.
Right. Yeah.
That is, a respectable upgrade. I
is.
still have this issue. Like I said in my Xperia One Mark III sort of comparison, I have a hard time with 1 year upgrades, but there are those little things like here in the United States, we didn't get 5G. The display gets a lot brighter. You have that kind of 60 or 120 hertz shift. It is a little bit more powerful, even if the thermals can be a bit trickier to keep under control. All of those little touches, like, this is the closest I think I've felt to saying like a 1 year upgrade might be worth it to try and flip a One Mark II. it's very selective, but the
There's
evolution
specific.
that Sony's been going through has been really refreshing to watch.
I'm loving the direction they're going with the Pro I. That's the difference in here. I mean, the One Mark III was announced early in the year, finally available in the markets, I think since late August. But the reality of the matter is, Pro I that should start shipping, by the way, mid-December,
Yeah.
it's a dramatic change, which I'm hoping is going to influence the One Mark IV that comes out next year. Next year, I'm hoping
I'll
that
be
that
curious to see what they do
if
there.
yeah, because it's a
There's
different approach.
potential. There's potential for all of the different, excuse me, that camera sensors that Sony's playing with, and I really feel that One Mark IV will probably still end up with something closer to an iPhone camera sensor. And
Okay.
again, it's when we're looking at the market, I think a number of manufacturers kind of target Apple and say, hey, if they're selling a phone for over $1,000 with a smaller camera sensor in there, so can we.
Hmm.
And this Androidy notion of a value proposition where if you're gonna be allowed to charge a little bit more for your phone, you have to overwhelmingly deliver radical hardware is getting really tired. When you really kind of go up and down all of the hardware differences between these different devices, like a OnePlus 9 Pro has a noticeably larger main camera sensor than an iPhone 13 Pro, comes in at a lower price, has
Much
a
lower, yeah.
noticeably better ultra wide camera, but OnePlus is not allowed to charge similarly. And I think people are going to try and pigeonhole Sony saying like, well, how come the One Mark IV doesn't get the same larger sensor as the Pro I, but then you just charge me less? And you're
Well,
like,
that's
Sony's never going to do that.
no, and
Sony's
there's a
never
reason
going
it's
to
called
give
a Pro.
you
Yeah.
Sony's never going to give you all the Pro hardware and then be like, "Oh, but here it is for $600 less." Our
Yeah.
bad, like so
I'd
that's
like to see that ad would be
right.
like, "Sorry, we charge so much, but this is all of our
Oh,
pro equipment, all of the R&D, all the hardware that we have, all of the heavy work that the Alpha team's been putting in for all these years to provide you the best camera experience. Yeah, here you go, $600. It'll be
so
six hundred
so
dollars less than the last model.
I think that'll be the dividing line. That is
Yeah.
my hypothesis that
So
we'll see
okay,
something that's a little bit closer to a 1/1.6
okay.
inch camera sensor, 1/1.7, and they're going to keep the bigger, gooder camera sensor for the Pro, and they're going to keep the dual aperture for the Pro. I'll be curious
I
to see
really
if
liked
they
playing with the dual
play.
aperture, the F4
It's
and
so
F2.
good.
It's like it's
It's so
seriously like
sharp.
you need that level experience at that. Oh man, so what's it called? Samsung used to do it. Remember back when they
Yeah.
supposedly and
I
they
have it right
stopped.
here in front of me. Here's my S10e. And this had
Yeah.
the dual stage aperture also. But the effect of seeing you stop down, I forget what it is. It's like f1.6 to f3 or something like that. Let me just
Hmm.
boot it up instead of guessing. I can just tell you. Um,
I thought it was like
but
2 point something, but yeah, no, like F1.4, F1.67 to F2.8. I didn't
and
think
now
it was that big of a jump. And
the
now
phone just doesn't want to start. This is hilarious. Come on, Samsung. All of these YouTubers are out here saying that you're gooder at software than Google. And yet you're running like hot garbage right now after the most recent One
I
UI
finally
update.
downloaded One UI 4 beta on my Fold.
Why would you
Yeah,
do that to yourself? Samsung betas are
I
Samsung
know, but
betas.
I'm a glutton for punishment. I all I can say is
Oh,
I
you're
mean
right. It's f1.5 and
yeah,
f2.4. For some reason, I thought
yeah.
it was f3.5.
I remember Samsung's f-stop was the difference in f-stop wasn't as big. Here we're
It's
jumping
it's not the difference. I mean, when you go from f1.5 to 2.4, that's not quite a stop, but it's pretty close.
oh
The issue is you're doing that on a 1/2.55 inch
oh
camera
that's right
sensor
yeah,
where
yeah. I'm thinking of that yeah.
that difference, if you try and do that like the equivalent focal, not the equivalent focal length, the equivalent aperture of 35 millimeter, we're like at f14, right? Like if we were to try and compare that output, it's dramatic.
It's
Just
dramatic.
how
Yeah.
Now, when we do that on a significantly larger camera sensor, like what's being used in that Pro I, going from f2 to f4 is visibly different
Visibly,
in
oh my God,
how
especially when
clarity
you're
is
trying to bring
maintained.
in for low light imagery, just to boost up, just to open up the lens, absorb more light. Just to me, it's just, it's very noticeable even in the images that you're looking at for the detail, how much you're able to pull out of that. So it's one of those things
Yeah,
I
it's
just
real
have to
nice.
say, I'm happy with the with the One Mark III, and I'm happy with
Yeah,
the new, with the new the telephoto with the 70 and 105 on it, and the display, the gaming, all of those bells and
for sure.
whistles. I'm missing the main sensor. I'll just say that that's one of my main things.
I gotta say, the way that Sony conservatively applied telephoto with way less sub-pixel software manipulation, like I think it's pretty easy to arrive at a better image on a Samsung on their telephotos, both
Hmm.
on the S21 and on the Ultra.
Yeah.
I feel like Sony's more conservative and traditional photography solution there. It doesn't let the phone down. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's bad because it's quite good. That
Hmm.
dual stage telephoto is really, really good hardware.
Oh yeah.
But once I start spending premium cash and I get to play with something that's photojournalism ready to go good on that Pro I, I'm not too conflicted about the idea of going Pro I with the larger sensor there and the dual aperture over
Then
the dual stage telephoto. Like if I have to
I
trade,
yeah, if I would I'm exactly in that same boat. I
that's
would
kind
much
of my
rather,
yeah,
because the reality is we live with the primary sensor 90% of the time. The others are there for occasions, for certain circumstances. But I feel like I typically don't jump too much into ultra wide, but I like to have it.
yeah,
Telephoto's great, especially with my son when we're outdoors.
sure,
But what I've enjoyed the most is just the ability of how much I'm able to spend that much time with the main sensor and focusing on all of the different options that we get with the video, with imagery, low light, changing, all the different options. And
for
the
sure.
Video Pro, seriously, that's the
It's
one thing
so
I
good.
I, I, I hoped there was an update for the One
It's
Mark III that had it. There's no Video Pro. We need Video Pro to come
I'm
to the One Mark
hoping I'm
III
hoping
and other
something
ones.
analogous will come with
I hope so.
Android 12 because that's what they
Yeah,
did with the One Mark II.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Was we
With
didn't
the
get all the Cinema Pro features until we got Android
till
11.
the Android. Yeah,
But I've got to like highlight it because I pointed out time and time again, Sony is more traditional. This is more about the optics and the hardware. The software isn't going to do all of that fancy, juicy social media stuff that you expect from a Samsung. When you're in Video Pro, did you play with the smooth zoom on that main sensor?
yes, I did, and I did quite a few
Sony
shots.
is doing something there where the pixel cropping, as it's moving more and more to the dots in the middle of that sensor, that is some of the smoothest action I've seen on any phone. And I was not expecting to see
It
anything that kind of
it felt
processed
mechanical.
smooth.
Yeah, it felt like it
It
was
feels like a
truly done.
dolly zoom. It
Yeah, yeah,
feels like you're
absolutely. It was
pushing a camera on a cart on
exactly
rails. It's
that.
so pretty.
That's the level of zoom. Exactly. Yes. I took it to the Descanso Gardens. Actually, with the first time when we got there, and actually went, and it was amazing. It was like literally like you start the zoom, it doesn't start right away. There's a little bit of a delay
There's like
just
a
to
give,
simulate.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a little bit of a
There's like
give,
an
and then it
S
starts.
curve for how it
Exactly.
like flows
It's
in and out. It's
and then
so
it does
pretty.
it, and it gradually goes through, and then when you're going back, it does the exact same thing, so that you get that natural smooth like butter kind of. The one thing I didn't get a chance to, well, Video Pro has its own positives, and like I said, I hope that does come over to the One Mark III, and even the One Mark II. I think the both can benefit from it.
Hmm.
But the one thing I did miss, like with the One Mark II, because we've had it for so long, Camera Pro is not in there. I didn't realize, you know what I mean? Like you play and you use it all the
Yeah.
time, but then you don't have Camera Pro there. When you get Camera Pro and you start using it, so that's why, like with the Pro I, and of course with the One Mark III. So I'm finally at least one step closer to the experience.
Well,
But we'll see how it
Jonathan
goes.
Gao said he installed Video Pro off an APK. So if someone's already ganked an
Ah,
APK for Video Pro, you might want to check that out.
Okay, I will definitely check out that. I will Google search, or Jonathan, if you want to hit me up, I didn't think about doing it. Honestly, I didn't. I'll take that back. I tried it a while back when we were using the One Mark III at the beginning to try to bring over Camera Pro, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Camera Pro wouldn't transfer over. I'm thinking maybe Video Pro is not as much of a there's not as much library built up in there. It may be able to be more of a self-contained, and I'll be interested to see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I definitely like that app. I'm in hopefully Android 12, maybe early 2022. We'll see how that goes.
I'll be real curious to see because like I have a special line in the Pixel 6 video that I'm going to try and get out for tomorrow, talking about how the Pixel 6 is not stock Android. We won't know what Android 12 stock Android looks like until Sony and Motorola start putting out some updates. So I feel like in this race, Sony will probably lead on some of these phones. I'm going to be really anxious to see what they do for updates on these like premium tier devices.
I think. I'm almost tempted to say I don't think Material U will transfer over. I feel like they're probably going to stick to more of a AOSP look. I would probably say a little bit more, but we'll have to see. Especially, I'm interested to see if they bring in like Material U is. It's a different approach.
Can't you just see a bunch of Sony Alpha engineers going like, but there's so much wasted space. We're Sony. We know better than everybody else.
Those
Put more
buttons
toggles.
are too big. Yeah, they're just too big. Our display, No, I hope that like, my goal is my hope is that I think that whatever they bring in, as you said, it would be functional. I think maybe that's why we like Sony so much. Sony is a very functional approach to camera, to devices, and it's absolutely functional. They don't put things in there if there's no function for them, and it's not a waste. It's not a matter of wasted space. It's about functionality. One thing I will say that no other device has that appeal to me is this: the ability of jumping into the camera application ready to shoot in less than 1 second by just pushing a button. The ability of,
you don't have to readjust your grip to hit
Nope.
a volume rocker or an on-screen button.
Everything is
your finger
everything is
that
in the right
launched
spot.
the camera app is already in place to hit the shutter button. I
And
don't
you're-
understand how anyone could come to any other conclusion other than that is the right design for a camera-centric device.
Absolutely.
Anyone who would deign to pretend with bad infomercial hand acting that this is somehow complicated, slow, or confusing
I
is
don't know
only
what to do.
showing that they're bad at tech and they're terrible at photography. And I feel like that's a bad look.
It's a little bit of it's quite a bit of a bad look. It's the little things, and I think that's what it is. It's once you're able to, muscle memory kicks in, and you're not even thinking about it. Especially with my monitor behind me deciding to take a dive and reboot. That's how we do it. I have to say, even when I go back to like some of my older ones, because I was thinking some of my older Sonys. I don't know if you remember this one, the Sony from T-Mobile.
Yeah.
This is the last T-Mobile Sony ever released.
Oh, that's an antique. I love it.
That is an antique. That was my first intro into Sony toolless opening. I actually did break the SIM tray though. That one is stuck. It will not come out. Water resistant headphone jack, but yeah. No.
So I really wished I had kept more from the Pocket nowadays because I don't think, like Tony only ever wanted the big premium. So the 4K. What were they called? The Xperia premiums, right?
There's the Xperia Pro. There's the premium. Then there's the XZ, the XE. Then before that there was the ZV. Hold on.
Yeah. Anyway, the only one I kept was the XZ1 Compact.
Oh, yeah. I remember. You really liked that one, yeah.
The perfect Mighty Mouse travel phone. So David Burns writes, I know you guys aren't into it as much, but I'm very excited for how Material U will influence web design. I'm actually a lot more positive on Material U than I kind of... Like using the Pixel 6, there are some rough edges, and we're biting off a lot. Like I think Google might have bitten off just a bit more than they could really chew for one phone launch. they're in the unenviable position of putting out a new phone with a new SoC, with a new camera sensor, with a new operating system, with a new UI element, and a ton of new individual apps and services that have to run on those phones. And it's basically tapping almost every single division of Google Mobile, their software divisions, their hardware divisions, and trying to keep all of those balls in the air is not possible. Some of these things did slip through the cracks, and there are obviously some rough edges on the Pixel 6. But what I'm kind of interested to see if they can pull off over these next couple months of updates and refinement, the one thing that kind of clicks in my brain when you start playing with Material U on the Pixel 6, there's a new idea of organizing notifications and toggles that to me looks very Star Trek The Next Generation. The way that panels are modular, the way that things slide in and out and expand, the way that the buttons they're bigger, so they take up more space, but the way that they deliver information looks totally like LCARs to me. And for being a Star Trek nerd, that's like one thing, like, okay, haha, that's kind of neat. I'm a nerd and I like that. But if you can combine that with an aesthetic that updates moment to moment with wallpapers, color accents, and app icons, then you don't have something so nerdy, stark sci-fi. You have something that will eventually start to feel more organic. Like moment to moment, as you give this thing different requests, it will adapt to the request that you're giving it, not just by moving panels around, but then literally changing color accents and wallpapers and the other pretty information as well too. Because like if you look at Star Trek, LCARs are all of these just weird yellow rectangles and buttons and stuff. If Google can pull that off over the next couple updates, or just not, I don't mean to pull that off. Like this is something that's going to be an ongoing evolutionary design change for the
absolutely,
next 10
Material
years.
U is going to have to go through its evolutionary updates,
But I just mean if they can kind of polish up some of how this phone represents that information, I think it's going to go a long way towards creating that more ambient companion device where you're not, again, there's an Android diehard user who wants to granularly control every aspect of their UI. And Pixel 6 is not going to be for that individual out of the box. There's still plenty that you can do. You can slap another launcher on there, yada, yada, yada. But I feel moving forward that the mission from Google is to make this thing feel like it's more ubiquitous in the background of your day. And when you pick it up for a specific task, the phone is literally changing toggles, settings, control interfaces, and colors and accents to focus on that individual task, and then it will morph into something else when you have a different requirement. That to me is really exciting. And even though I feel there are some significant stumbling blocks in this immediate week one incarnation of that idea, I can see so much potential for what it is that they might be able to, accomplish.
Yeah, and I mean, and if you got a chance to play with the betas and the alphas, you saw the evolutionary process that they went through. They didn't land on this right away. They actually went through the first interface, the colorful wasn't that good, but it was one of the stages. I mean, it's an evolutionary, like you said, it's going to get better. And my only hope, if anything, I think at this point, they need to give us the option. I'm not saying get rid of the internet, the internet button or the toggle, but I think you should have an option for internet toggle as well as Wi-Fi option by itself. Because a lot of people, I think for me, having to click an option to go down and then disable Wi-Fi has been an extra step that I felt like was added. I understand why they combined it. Functionally makes perfect sense. The internet comes from either mobile data or Wi-Fi, but there is no toggle for Wi-Fi by itself. So I feel like for that step every time...
Dave is making fun of me, but tell me that doesn't look like LCARs.
It totally looks like LCARs. Yeah. No, definitely.
And all of this kind of morphs as I go through things. So as I'm like listening to a podcast, this panel becomes something different than when I'm firing up Qobuz or watching a video. and all of these things kind of shift, and I'm getting notifications from my Discord. You know, all of these things kind of mold themselves into the sort of shape of information that you need in that moment. I'm actually kind of positive on this idea for a notification shade. It sucks that I guess you can only have 8 toggles on a screen at one time instead of 12 or 16. But I
Yeah,
don't
the
know that
DPI
that
would have
really
been.
fundamentally changes my daily use of the phone. I mean, it does mean I need to organize my top toggles a little
You're
bit
used to
better.
too much like an Xperia,
But
man. You're used to having more information on your phone. Let's just be honest.
well,
I know
no, no,
what
no,
you're
no.
doing.
Can you do? Is your one Mark III booted up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pull down that notification shade, because on the Pro you could only keep
Oh, it only yeah
6.
6. No, it's still
Yeah,
6.
yeah.
Ah, okay. No, dude.
OTK. I
Oh
don't.
man, hold on, hold
That's
on, hold
stock
on.
Android. I don't. I feel like that's the correct option. People always say it's all about stock Android, and stock Android only keeps 6.
Stock Android is 6. It went back to 6. So it's 6, but then when you have it collapse, it's still 6. You still have
Yeah.
6 different options when it's at the most minimal. Where sorry, this is the One Mark II. So I had both sitting in case we were going to talk about the One Mark II. No, oh man. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Dang it. I do know though at one point it used to be more. We used to have
Yeah.
more
So like
toggles.
Vivo starts at 6 and then it goes down to 12.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I know I used to well sorry take it back. I've modded phones in the past to be able to initiate. So there are exposed modules. They used to fix that for Samsung phones and stuff. I'm sure Greg have played with that, but you're right.
What
I
my
think
Duo
it's something
does.
that we're going to have to see how Sony approaches it and Motorola, the two that typically are known for close to stock experience as much as possible. Sony obviously first beginning of the year, 12 of nothing crew. I like that. Chop is like
So
I do
Duo
12.
Duo goes from 6 to 8.
Okay, that's not that bad. That's pretty good.
So
Sony
that's
sticks with 6 and 6.
6 and 6, and I feel like the Pixel going from 4 to 8. Again,
Yeah.
I understand why someone gets familiar with a certain way that they control and interact with their phone. I'm having a hard time
Yeah.
really caring
Samsung goes
about
12.
that kind of
Yeah.
UI change when I can appreciate that for a lot of people out there who pull down that notification shade and just see 12 random icons with little shapes and the font smaller because you've got to pack more information in a denser profile.
Yeah.
It doesn't fundamentally change how I use my phone, because I do take the time to organize my
Oh,
settings and,
yeah.
and,
No, I
and
think that's
everything.
one of the things when you're
And
setting
it
up your phone.
and it likely improves the situation for someone who wasn't inclined to really interact with pages of tiny little icons up in that notification shade.
Okay, I get it. Okay, yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying someone's wrong for not liking this. I mean, as a personal preference, like it or don't like it. I'm having a hard time acting like this is a tragic, non-functional. They've destroyed the functionality of the notification shade. I feel that's overreacting, and there are probably other things that we could legitimately be criticizing to help improve the conversation going forward on what the Pixel 6 needs to address.
I think as time goes on, we'll probably get more options to customize and more features added into the Pixel experience, because this is not the end all be all conversation. This is just literally, as you said, week one after they made the official announcement of Android 12, I think at the beginning of October, right? Is it October? Yeah, beginning of October. They announced it. We saw the announcement. And then a week later, or once the announcement of, Pixel 6 Pro, we saw the official, Pixel version of Android 12. And then all the Pixel devices that are supported received it. So we need to give it some time. We need to see how the options come in. And I'm hoping that Google does listen and add in some of those functions that I think a lot of people that loved
Sure.
about custom, the stock Android, adding more toggles possibly.
I mean,
But
their
we'll have to see.
explanation makes sense.
Oh, I don't
If
disagree. I
you're
think,
if you're a power user like we are, we understood the kind of dual functionality of these tiny little icons up there.
Mm-hmm.
If you handed this phone over to sort of the bread and butter, sort of the core idea of an iPhone or a Pixel consumer,
Mm-hmm.
having a toggle that just says internet likely helps them not need to go digging through two different settings tabs in the phone settings. So I understand
Absolutely.
the engineering think, like the people who are most going to be helped by that are never going to contribute to that conversation on social media. The people who are going to be annoyed by that are going to gnash teeth and clutch pearls and act like the sky is falling because you changed something that was simply and directly functional for how we used our phones. It's just, again, I feel like I've been saying this in so many of my videos recently, and I'm definitely sounding like a broken record. I just feel like there's a certain bit of perspective into how serious these things are. I think it's more serious that Material You is currently contributing to significant app and game instability. I feel it's more important to talk about on-roading app developers so they can update for Android 12 and we don't get those weird funky stutters in Twitter. We don't get that app crashing in YouTube Studio. We can address performance concerns. I think it's more important to talk about icon updatability so that more app developers can fit into the aesthetic. Your apps don't stand out. They become a part of this Material You aesthetic. I feel all of those
Yeah.
things are so much more critical to be focusing our attention on and to be addressing so that Google has the right fire lit under the right part of their collective asses, that we get the positive change. To be so concerned about a two-stage toggle for internet, to me is lower on that list. It's not off the list. It's just way less significant than like actual performance concerns should be.
Oh, not only that, I feel like a very, very easily somebody will make an app for it that you could probably just have somebody else focus on it. It was more of a, like I said, it was more function. I understand. It makes perfect sense. You're right. For somebody picking it up and to the non-specific users, I mean, yeah, the internet is the right answer. It is the internet, and you get it from two different sources, either mobile data or Wi-Fi. My thing was mostly because I
I'm not
typically turn
saying
off Wi-Fi when I leave home, but I could also just set up a rule. I mean, Android 12.
a location based, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
totally. Geolocate, set it up. The moment I leave my house, turn off the Wi-Fi. And the moment I come back home, turn on Wi-Fi. I'm being lazy. I'm not trying to make it sound like I don't know how to make it better. It was just, it was more of a used or habit.
Right.
I'm used
I
to
just mean,
swiping, turn off.
It's
and
not
look.
even it's not even to try and like make you defend it or like this is why you should like it. I like it or don't like it. I feel again it's this like it's either got to be perfect for the thing I'm familiar with or it's garbage style of commentary. Right?
No, by no means am I. Yeah,
this
I'm
is
not
different.
diving down that path. Yeah.
And if you were genuinely tuned in to like the airplane mode toggle and the Wi-Fi toggle and long pressing those toggles so you could get directly into shortcuts and settings, you're right. This is one extra click. But to me, it's that is not a functionality breaking UI change.
No, absolutely.
It's unfamiliar and it's different. And I do agree that it's a little clumsy the way they just decided to make this change based on the way that we've always interacted with Android toggles in our notification shade. But to have these conversations, and again, I got to get off of like Twitter Spaces because a bunch of tryhards love like setting up these public forums where they're such amazing software development experts. But to act like Google is trying to break the functionality of their products, it's that tone that just needs to sit down. I feel it's totally fine to have criticisms and to not like this.
Absolutely, yeah. You're entitled to your own personal.
Because we've met so many members of like the Google hardware and the Google software teams.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, Google is not one singular mind. It's a collective of all of these tiny little
Absolutely, and it's not
pockets.
one single team. Absolutely, yeah. Everything we get in Pixel is a collaborative.
But they're
effort.
acting like there's a boardroom meeting and there's some guy in a suit saying, you know what we need to do is break our product. And then they all pat themselves on the back in these Twitter spaces. But I mean, like, who is Google even making this phone for? I just can't figure out why they would change this one tiny aspect of my Wi-Fi toggle. This is unusable. I mean, I can't even figure out how to do I mean, it's like broken, and you're like, that's hack. And I feel
There,
we
yeah,
could do better.
it's one thing to mention, saying, okay, look, I appreciate the extra toggle. My answer to it wasn't even actually there was anything wrong with it. I felt like we just need a separate toggle if it was an additional toggle added, if you just wanted Wi-Fi by itself.
For sure.
But it was, to me, I never thought it was broken. When I first used it, it was like it made sense to me. Makes perfect sense. Wi-Fi and,
Man,
and mobile data
I
are in
mean,
the same
like,
spot.
I feel I need to drag you into some of these Twitter spaces for moral
I've seen
support.
you. Yeah, I know. I
Because like
try.
I'm sitting there and just going like, these people should know better. They have, I mean, like, we're talking some larger reviewers and people that have been around for a while, and they're playing this game, and I don't like this game where they're taking a week one phone and they're putting it through a ringer that they would
It's just,
never put a
yeah,
Samsung through.
creating drama for the sake of drama is not, it's
It's
not
not a
reviewing.
good
It's not
look.
tech nerds. It isn't, because people will see through it. That's the other thing. You have to really focus on the basics. Focus on what really makes sense in there. Is this a breaking feature? No, it's a convenience tool so that you don't have to go dig for it.
Sure.
Does it change the experience at the end of the day? No. Like I said, I very well know that I could have just set up a rule inside of Android 12, or in Android, just to, again, the moment I leave this geo fencing around my home, turn off Wi-Fi and then turn it back on whenever I'm back in there, and it would have saved myself the time of having to do it. It just I was too lazy to do it. It was, but I will say this though. I mean, the UI elements, the new interface of what Material U's bring in, I felt like was something that was way overdue from what Pixel and what Google's been doing. We've had stock Android referenced as Pixel for so long that, for the sake of just any company and any I've worked with many PR companies, and they've always referenced Pixel UI as stock Android, and then I try to explain to them, "No, this is Google's version. This is Google's version of Android
This is
on
Google
Pixel."
skin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stock Android does not have everything that's in there. You haven't, if you don't install AOSP on your system, you're not really running stock. But then I think, they finally decided to take the leap and then make it so that it's so different than AOSP that it becomes their own version. It's like their own one UI. So I'm very happy with Material U. I like the approach, and I can see the potential of where things can go. And I honestly, it's more of a, let's see how they can make it better type of an experience.
For
And
sure.
that's the benefit, is it does get better. And if you're not happy with the launcher, like you said, Nova Prime to the rescue. Not
I am
Nova
trying.
7 actually.
I'm yeah,
I didn't install Nova, so on my Pixel I'm still running stock. I'm
uh-huh.
trying to go through as long as I can
So
without it.
it's
But on my Xperia,
it
I did install Nova right away, because that's what I'm used to using. I like Nova Prime. So
it's really just a matter of familiarity, and for all those
yeah.
dark years where like the LG launcher was just such
Oh
hot
man, yeah, I know, it was
garbage
always a challenge
that I
every
got
time.
tapped into Nova. I can't really. I mean, like there's like a Square launcher I think is pretty good, but Microsoft launcher really needs to live on the Duo.
Hmm.
I'm running Fun Touch on the Vivo and
I know
trying to
you're having
keep it
fun.
with that. I do not like the out of the box settings on the Poco, because they have that
Yeah.
split notification. It's swipe on one side for your notification, swipe on the
Oh
other for your
yeah.
quick
So that's,
actions.
yeah. MIUI
And I
12.5 automatically turned that on. It used to be an option, by the way. MIUI, yeah,
and
MIUI didn't give it to you automatically.
I'm glad they can still disable it, but I
You
hate
can.
that that's their
Default.
default
Yeah.
now.
It used to be where you have to turn it on, or now you can still technically change it, but out of the box, they're really kind of like saying, we're going this way. You're gonna have to go with us. And don't get me wrong, it's like, are we copying an iPhone much? But it's like
And it's one of the dumbest things to copy on an iPhone. It is
it
not
is.
good design.
So yeah, no, for me, I usually disable it as well. Yeah, it's one of those. I think if anything else, I'm also very happy with the way, what's it called? Oppo did Android 12. They actually stuck to their version of. Yeah, it really still feels like Oppo ColorOS 12, and the
That's good.
experience on it still fits nicely. So
I see. I mean, like I need to catch up.
so is OnePlus.
Like I've gotten a little bit more playtime in with Xiaomi. I have spent very little time playing Oppo. So when our OnePlus 9s start getting swapped
Running
over to, it's going to be
it's going to be soon. It is. It's going to
Yeah,
be very.
but
I
it's
feel like
gonna be
Android
a
12 is
culture
going to be when
to
full
me.
on Android 12 comes up. I am running the beta right now on the OnePlus 9, not the 9 Pro. So I'm a little bit of playing here and here, but it's coming. Yeah, no, ColorOS is going to be the base, and it's actually a pretty solid experience. Still very fast, very intuitive, a lot of nice function, and they're adding. I'm hoping that does actually come over. So Oppo has what's it called? PC Connect. It's a tool for them to do PC interface with your phone so that you're able to transfer files, kind of like how Samsung does it with their PC experience. But this one is more an app that you install on any Windows PC, and then you can just seriously like open files, edit files directly from the phone, see the home screen. You can shut off the screen on your phone. It still sits there. So I'm hoping for some little things. I think Realme introduced that last year, and Oppo's finally catching up to that. So it's very happy. I'm very happy about that part. So for sure. But yeah, Android 12 is now all the story. Google is out, and everybody's beta testing it, and hopefully we'll see them out soon. One UI.
All I
didn't
can
feel
say
much.
is I feel like hitting Samsung with some of that Pixel energy. My Pixel 3a has Android 12 on it, and Samsung is supposed to be gooder at software, but where's Android 12 for the Galaxy A50? It doesn't have it. It's not out immediately.
And it wouldn't be a beta for a while. It'll be probably later.
If I talk about Samsung the way that a lot of these YouTubers are talking about Google, then we need to come to the most unkind interpretation of their corporate actions, and we need to then put a blanket statement about how Samsungs are now unusable garbage because we can't get day one operating system updates
Or
for
consistent
2 and 3 year
software
old
update.
phones.
Yeah. No. It is.
I mean,
you have
that's
to be
really
fair.
the only conclusion I can come to is you've got to throw all of your Samsungs in the garbage, and they're completely unusable. And even though they functioned fine yesterday, now they don't have Android 12. So you should never buy
If you don't
them.
have Android 12, what do you have? That's the
You
question.
have nothing.
You
You
have
have nothing, sir. I
Therefore-
said nothing. Good
Therefore,
day.
it is over, and I think you're right. Everybody should be buying Pixel 6 Pro, Pixel 6, or even the 4a, or anything Pixel. If you don't have it on day one, what do you have? No, I mean it is frustrating how we can. So don't get me wrong. Everybody will find something to get on, and get on the soapbox, and obviously talk to it.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, what you need to do is understand what you have and where you're going. If you buy into an ecosystem and you're doing your research, you're going on YouTube and you are watching videos about this product, the hope is that you're getting the right impression of it so you know what you're getting into, as opposed to a person's bias over one side to the other. Don't get me wrong, Samsung has on their flagship, they're doing much better than they used to before. But at the end of the day, you're right. The A series, the one that sells the most, is probably going to get the least amount of attention because it's not their flagship, which also doesn't sell as much as their A series.
No. So I mean, like, I'm obviously being a snarky butt.
A little bit. Yeah, no, I mean, we know.
Obviously, I'm taking this to an absurd extreme because that's kind of how I feel this commentary spins out of control whenever we talk about anything that's not Sam Apple.
Absolutely.
If you are a Samsung fan and you live in the real world where Galaxy S sales are down 40% over the last 2 years, but Galaxy A sales have skyrocketed, you need to be critically excited about what's going on with the Pixel 6, because that's really the only thing that's going to put more pressure on Samsung to deliver longer update windows and longer support windows for Galaxy A, and hopefully bring some of the more bleeding edge features into that price tier. I am like 97% confident the reason we are not also trying to add an S21 FE into our review lineup right now is because Pixel 6 rocked what Samsung was expecting. And I
Yeah.
genuinely believe that what's being manufactured, what'll be out in January, all they're trying to do is distance themselves from how much of a price cut Pixel 6 got. And that's it. So when we see, Google talking about custom SoC in most of the world, Samsung has their Exynos. They
Yep.
have control over how long those software support windows should last. And if you start seeing Galaxy A series getting on to 3 years, 4 years of support, you have Google to thank for that. And that's to me what we should be like critically excited, even if you're not going to buy the phone. This is what hopefully good competition is going to
Absolutely.
bring to
I
the
was just
table.
about to say it's exactly what what the word competition brings to us as a consumer. It's the ability of not only pushing, allowing innovation to come through, but also allows us to actually benefit from it by having companies compete with each other. This is why Sony, to me, still, for me, even though they're advancing their technologies in more of an alpha state, they're definitely doing it in the right way. I mean, they're not really necessarily competing as much since LG is not in the game in there. But what they're doing essentially is just doubling and tripling down on what they do, and that's because they've learned that while everybody's removing features as a way of saying this is premium, they're like, no, we're gonna keep and improve
For
and
sure.
double down. Quad DAC, audio input. That second, see, one thing I didn't get a chance. So this is the thing. This, and I'm hoping it does. So I pre-ordered the little display from B&H because I'm such a geek. I know
That's
it's 200
hilarious.
bucks. It's crazy, but I'm hoping it works with this guy. I'm really hoping it works with this because if it does, oh my God, this is going to be so
That's
cool.
huge. Yeah.
CES vlog on this all the way with that little
Yeah.
display. So I'm hoping it shows. So it's supposed to ship by mid-December, somewhere like that. Even with a little bit delays, whatever. I'm hoping it just shows up before, like the week before CES. Land in my lap. I'll take it with me. I'll test it at CES. That's
But I do
cool.
want to just a couple shout outs. We got Steve DeRoche in
Oh,
the
dude,
comments
yeah, yeah.
too. After watching Easy Computer Solutions, I think I'm good with keeping my V60 for way longer than I expected to keep it. I mean, we're still on kind
yeah.
of
Yeah, yeah.
LG Death
Sorry.
Watch for software, but I keep kind of sneaking back to my V60 in between all of these really awesome bleeding edge current tech phones. That V60 is going to be a tank for a while. Like, I think it's
Absolutely,
going
yeah.
to be solid
It's
for a while.
yeah. How's
And then we also have my tech review.
oh, Ronaldo.
Yeah,
Rolando.
Rolando's in. We can say, hey, what's up there?
Chop is in there as
And
well. Walt
got
is in
Chop.
there, and then so Walt's asking is how well is Sony on the software update? They're consistent. They're not on the monthly cycle as
they're-
far as the ability of updating every month, but I think
No, they're not.
no, I think they're like on every the quarter cycle. But,
if it's not, yeah, it's either quarter or every other month. I really have a hard time remembering or getting a
in the
feel
amount
for
of
it.
time that with the One Mark
don't-
II, it
I don't
felt like
believe you're really in line for more than 2 OS updates, but they kept pushing out security patches to my Xperia 1, my XZ1 Compact for a surprisingly long time. And I had the unlocked model that didn't quite work with T-Mobile voice over VoLTE.
VoLTE,
Or
yeah.
no, voice over Wi-Fi. Didn't whatever.
you mean
didn't
Wi-Fi
work with
calling.
Wi-Fi calling.
Yeah.
And the fingerprint sensor didn't work because of all those weird licensing issues. But that phone got like a surprising number of security patches. I'm gonna grab my Xperia 1 Mark 1. I haven't fired that up for a while, and I want to see if maybe it's gotten any
I'm sure it
additional
has. I'm sure it has some massive amount of software update. And while you're picking it up, we'll go ahead and show it to everybody on the show. So yeah,
It's
I have
pretty.
I got my Xperias all laid out. Chemi on Twitter today said, "TK, why don't you show us how much Sony do you really have in the office?" And I was like, I'm not that kind of like.
I mean, I kind of feel like you're a good ambassador for telling that story.
I put stuff together, and I think I may be missing a couple of things, but yeah, no, I like camera wise, on personal purchased cameras, I've spent close to $7,000 to $8,000, if not more, on hardware alone, and I'm not done buying lenses. I mean, I always love but yeah, no, I'm trying to sell the A7 III to get the A7 IV, and the A7S III is doing great. The E10 is doing great. My Handycam, my RX100. This is a lot. And then, of course, the mobile Xperia department that feels like it practically lives in my house, in my office right now. But yeah, no, it was definitely very, very, very nice. Share a video, the Pro APK on Instagram. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it. I'll hit it up as soon as I'm done with. Actually, I'm not gonna hit it up as soon as I'm done. I'm gonna try to do it right now. Let's do it live, man.
Doing it live.
We got to do it live. We got to install it and get it going. Just got to log into my Insta, kicking it with my buddies, and I'm in. This.
Yeah, Michael Corcoran, the Pixel 3 did get its last update though, so it did make it to the Android 12 train, but I think it's now off the reservation for future support. And I would imagine that Pixel 3a is probably right behind it. So I think my little 3a, mine is still on the beta track, so I wonder if that'll mean anything different. But I think it's pretty much at the end of its line too.
The 3a or the
no, Pixel 3 is now out of updates. It got to Android 12, and now it's no longer getting the same sort of support updates.
The love has been. Let me see if I can open it. So I got the drive link. Sorry, I'm excited. I'm gonna see if this thing works. It'll be nice. Okay, Video Pro version 2 APK. Come on, baby. Come on.
Do it.
Downloading. Okay, good. It's starting. It's not that bad. Okay, surprisingly, only 38 megs. Let's see. Install. Please. Okay, open.
We're all on pins and needles.
I know. No. Okay, I'm waiting for the boot up screen. Allow.
Videography Pro. It's doing the tutorial screen.
Skip,
this is
save
awesome
location.
audio podcasting, by the way. I feel like
yeah,
this
absolutely.
is the best
For everybody on the
storytelling
audio
we've ever
side,
done.
this is definitely. Oh my god!
And is it? Oh wait, look at that!
Look at that! I'm TK through the
That's real
camera, through the
pretty.
Sony, saying hello to the buddies.
I feel like if you could get that little portable display working and you're using Video Pro.
Because so here's the thing. Yeah, Video Pro was the only kicker that you needed for that, because I think that's the app that works. I don't think Cinema Pro plays with it. So this is part one. Now part two would be to get that display and connect it.
But
hold on.
Doesn't Cinema Pro have an option for a clean HDMI output? So if they could do a clean output, then wouldn't that be able to work with kind of any display? So shouldn't Cinema Pro still work with the little mini portable display?
I'm hoping. So align camera, tutorial, accessibility, grid, flame lines, stability, project.
Very interesting.
It would be so. I mean, honestly, if nothing else, I am just stoked the fact that I have Cinema Pro on the One Mark III is like, dude, it's like party time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you really need it. It's one of those apps that you really like. Okay, I can see what's going on right now. Oh no, wait, that's Cinema. I jumped back into Cinema Pro and I'm thinking, I was like, why is it too dark? It's because it's not I didn't set up the ISO in the shutter. But thank you very much, Jonathan. I appreciate it, man. Very, very much. It looks like a really nice. And I think Rolando's asking, what about Filmic Pro? I think Filmic does support the One Mark III now, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't get it. I didn't install it yet. But I think at the time we were, when we were first looking at it, we didn't have, Filmic wasn't supporting it yet. So I can definitely check that out right now.
Well, it's like I think Filmic has done a much better job of kind of opening up their side of the compatibility issues that we've seen with a number of Android phones, and the newer camera APIs seem to be helping with that.
Yeah,
it's often not. But it's often not whether or not it'll install. It's whether or not Sony is going to give up permissions to fully utilize all of the cameras. Like I can't remember which phone on my desk I just recently put through, and it was kind of a bummer. But like you could, it still might even be my OnePlus 9. Now that I say this, you can go into Filmic, you can fire up the main camera, 4K 30, everything's working great. And
it
then
doesn't
you
grab
try
all of the focal.
It doesn't grab all the lenses, But then when you
Exactly.
try and go in and do something like, hey, I really want to do the higher bit rate at 4K 60,
Yeah.
and you try to hit that, the whole thing just black screens and crashes. So Filmic is I mean, I got to give them a lot of credit because it's not easy keeping up with all of the various permutations of different Android phones. I think they're actually doing a remarkably good job of trying to keep up compatibility. It's more, will the manufacturer give up access to those
Control,
controls?
access to it. Yes.
And it's annoying because like I look at some of the hardware on a phone like the OnePlus 9 Pro, and I really want more control over that hardware. But OnePlus, I think it's a OnePlus thing. OnePlus
Hmm.
isn't giving us that access. So,
Yeah.
it's tricky trying to kind of suss out like, hey, I really like using Filmic as this interface, but is it a them? Is it a Filmic problem or is it a manufacturer problem when their app runs like garbage? And it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. But lately, I think it's more the fault of the manufacturers.
Yeah, no, and I totally understand it, Darren. So Darren's kind of explaining. He's like, I know Samsung and Pixel and most owners and are talking about Android 12, but yet he's still running Android 11 with MIUI 12.5. No, you're right.
No, I just think it's cute. He's like, oh, I'm still running Android 11, and you're like, I'm looking at my Surface Duo. It's still on Android 10. My LG V50 just got its Android
The
11
Android 12.
update. Where like,
Most of the
you're
world
not
is
doing
catching up
that
to
bad
11.
actually.
No, no, but the reality is the A series, especially even if we're talking Samsung or even Xiaomi devices, more of the mid range. Those are the ones that if they are eligible for an upgrade, it'll probably be around the time the new version of Android is when they're getting their
Yeah,
current generation.
for sure.
Software updates are. I mean, the reality of the matter is, the more devices you put out, the more software becomes very important. But I don't think right now companies are expanding that much, and they're not unifying their code the way they're building it for devices, making it more
Hmm.
an easier install. So this is the concern, though. Every device has their own, camera sensors, hardware specific changes between one device to another, and
Hmm.
it's not an easy just slide in, slide out, remove, and just copy paste kind of a thing. So
Well, and
it's
especially
hard.
once we start talking about some of these fancier devices, because there's
Oh,
so much custom hardware and custom code that, like, I
and
understand when there's kind of a delay,
yeah.
but it is. I mean, like we've got a couple people like Michael Corcoran. My G8X just got Android 11, and Duo One is on Android 10. And same thing. Like if I pick up an LG V50, LG who's supposedly so bad at updates, and then also they've shuttered their smartphone division, and you're like, but they still beat the Duo to Android 11. So
Oh
really,
man.
my hope is because I'm looking at my Duo 2 and I'm looking at my OG Duo. There's a part of me
Hmm.
that kind of hopes Microsoft just says NARP and they just push
Okay.
pause. Maybe putting out like bug fixes and security patches. Obviously, you don't want to leave people out in the cold. And then they just wait till Android 12L, and we go from Android 10
To
to
12,
12L
12L. Yeah.
all in one jump on the Duo. And honestly, I'd kind of be fine waiting that out rather than going through these like transitional steps in between. I'd rather just go straight to sort of the core tablety version of this that Microsoft has been contributing a lot of code
Hmm.
to improving Android for this style of usage. I'd rather just see that as a more realized version of what they have.
No, I agree, and I think for the Duo specifically, yeah, waiting till build L is definitely going to be the right one to go with. Most devices are not going to notice a lot, but tablet form, especially with Google's interface, trying to focus on that format again, which they kind of left a
For
while
sure.
back. It's a very refreshing. I mean, I'm not saying Pixel tablets are going to come down again, but I'm at least we appreciate what we see with the Duo, with the
Yeah,
those.
no, because I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be about a Pixel tablet. I
Hmm.
think, we've got some pretty good rumors and leaks around a Pixel foldable, but I really think
Yeah.
if it's a standalone slate, it's going to be Chrome.
Hmm.
If it's more of a phone modular idea, then it seems like Google is a little bit more interested in putting Android on that. And
Yeah.
that's where I think that dividing line is going to be. Like, if it's something that's right up to a Galaxy Fold, Google is going to say, hey, you should use Android with that. And then as soon as you cross over into something that's more of a traditional slate,
You
they're going
should
to
just
say, no,
stick
no,
to
no, no,
the.
Chrome OS is the correct solution for
And
that
I think they've
product.
done it. Yeah, no, the Pixelbook Go is still a champ with the hardware that it has. I feel like it's definitely. I forgot the name of the other tablet that they released, the last tablet that ran Chrome OS. Remember the one with the magnetic
Hmm.
connectors to the keyboard that they were having a
Yeah.
lot of performance issues because the optimization, like the processor, or I forgot what it was. It never really took off. It was a product that was launched, but it was never really as popular. And then the Pixelbook Go comes in and just like says, "Hold my beer." Everything it just works as it should.
Pixelbook has been so
Such a
good.
solid piece of hardware.
Lex has thrown that downstairs. She's spilled chocolate milk on it.
I've
There's a
seen.
I have
Okay,
a
so
I need to do like a recap on it because this poor laptop
has
has
gone through.
not been treated well, and
You've
it
put it through
is
your shake and bake and testing department. I see.
like
Okay,
there's
I
even like
see.
a crack, like you can see almost some of the exposed circuit board up by the speaker. Like she has, my daughter is brutal. She is a brutal 6-year-old.
Man, you know what?
But
This
like
is how
it keeps coming
engineers
back for
learn.
more.
Juan, this is how
Right.
engineers learn.
So
They
like she's
destroy
taking this thing
things, and
apart.
in the beginning they destroy things. At some point, light turns on, and then they start building. So, investment in the future. That's what I would call it right now.
I feel like a one Pixelbook Go is a small price to pay
Pay
for her future
for the
engineering
future
endeavors.
of Mrs.
Hey, we
Of
got Scoop in the chat. What's up, Scoop?
oh
Scoop,
my
my
god.
camera buddy. Again, another one that I think is just. We should try and because Scoop is in Nevada, so we should try and have
Oh,
Scoop
same
on
time zone.
as a
Yeah.
guest.
Oh,
So I
absolutely,
mean,
absolutely. I think we're missing. We are we're
we haven't
overdue
done
for
guests
another.
in a while.
I
Yeah.
know. I think.
And especially as camera pals, I feel like you shooting on Sony and
Oh, the Pixel
his
Slate. Yeah,
experience
that's
as a
what it was.
photographer, you guys would have
Geek
a lot
out,
to talk
man.
about. And I'll just sit
Dude.
here and kind of like, kind of rub the paste off of my teeth, like using all my Panasonic cameras. So
I believe me, I was a hardcore Panasonic for the longest time. I switched Canon to Panasonic before Sony. But it was the autofocusing that drove me crazy. And the weird thing about it is even though I used Panasonic as my main camera, my B camera was always a Sony.
hmm
And I've gotten so many compliments over the years saying, "How the heck is how is this the overhead focus is so good? How is it that you're able to keep things in line and it just looks great?" And like it's a Sony Handycam. It's not even a main camera. It's a Handycam. It's intended for vacations. It's intended for you on hand. Walk around behind the kids and you're like, "Okay, honey, do that
that's
jump."
hilarious.
That's the camera that I and so Jordan from XDA a long, long, long time ago, when I first started joining when I was building up and doing everything, he hooked me up with a setup. He showed me how he was doing it and how he did it. And that camera, the AX53, it's an oldie. It's definitely not
hmm
new, but works so nice. Like all the footage you see from the TV, the TCL TV show, that was
Yeah.
shot on that camera. It's
Oh,
that good of
nice.
a secondary camera. It does even in slightly lower light. It did very nice, and it focused very clearly on that. So it was. I what I did is when I put the E10 to replace it, I now use it more of a handheld for B-roll outside. So it works out. I don't like to get rid of cameras. I have a problem. I have too many actually.
I'm
But
I'm I'm with you there, but I don't think I've ever amassed as many camera bodies as you do because I still have my old Kodaks. So I have two
yeah,
Kodak camera bodies,
and you have
and
your Canon.
I have my 7D,
Yeah,
but
I remember
then
that one.
now most of this is G85 and G9, and I think I
Hmm.
need to retire this G85 at some point because you were saying
Still
like
looks
the
good.
autofocus. I need something micro four thirds. I would prefer 4K 60,
Yeah.
but what I really want is eye detection, face detection, autofocus that can track while not shooting video. And that's G9, but I don't want to spend another $1,000 on a second G9.
Or the G85
G85,
plus G85 the G5
G85,
G5.
the
Sorry, go ahead.
G85 has the great face detect, and it's pretty good when you're shooting 60 frames per second, but it only does 1080p 60. It's really slow and stuttery when you're doing 30 frames because it's really trying to take it every frame
Hmm.
and then refocusing from there. And that's enough time where you can drift a lot in between as it tries to kind of pulse through the focus. But it only does autofocus when you're
When you're in
recording.
shooting. Yeah, I remember that part.
So
Yeah.
so like
If you're
right now,
What
I
I'm
have
doing right
set
now is yeah.
I've set a longer, I mean, so I'm shooting this at f8, jacking the ISO,
Oh,
and then
you're
the
shooting
softer
this?
background. No, I'm not shooting it.
Oh, okay.
I've got my aperture set to f8, so I have a longer depth of field, so that you see, it's not refocusing,
Yeah, no. Yeah.
but I'm not crazy out of focus just when I lean back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just using
Give you a
NVIDIA
little bit of a give.
Broadcast.
Your window's bigger. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm just using NVIDIA Broadcast to kind of blur out my background a little. That's not ideal. And I'm using a lot of camera here for something that's actually not great.
And I just
So,
realized that this whole show I never changed the background and the logo. Hey, way to go, TK. Way to go, TK, for not doing
such
that
a
one
rookie
the one
move.
job, the one
You
thing
had
that you
one
trust me to.
job, TK.
Exactly. It's just to set up the stinking show, which by the way, there
Okay,
is a
so
slight possibility. Can we talk about next week's show a little bit? Possibly different timing?
maybe.
Maybe?
I don't know.
Okay.
Can we talk about next?
Well, no, it's more about just our timing. I think we have a certain possible.
Obligation.
Okay, yeah. So maybe I'll say this. Next week's show may potentially be airing a little earlier in the
Maybe.
day. Maybe
Perchance.
because of potentially something happening during the time that we normally would be hanging out with you guys, like right now.
True.
So
That
that's
was-
as clear as mud.
was-
That's pretty
I
much
was
just.
just going to say,
It's clear as mud.
that's the most opaque clarity I think we've ever delivered. But yes, we might need to shift next week's broadcast, or maybe do it like the day after.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
we
yeah,
have another
exactly.
Friday.
Friday morning show would be actually, if you
Maybe.
think about it, it would be nice. It would be like because we could then maybe talk about everything and then share
Sure.
certain experiences. But yeah, just a little bit more of a background, kind of how things are going. But I did also want to talk about something. Now I know obviously this was posted on your Patreon, but I think so, you did post it on your Instagram, so maybe we could talk about that. You showed a quad image of 4 cameras.
Yeah.
So it seems like you're working on a nice little project that could be very, very. I'm actually very excited and very interested into seeing, obviously, the type of work that you're going to be putting in there. So as you saw, you were shooting ahead with the Pro. So I'm hoping that part of it.
Yes.
So am I guessing correctly? A head-to-head challenge between all 4?
Okay, so here's
Pro
what's funny.
Plus. Go ahead.
Literally, I was just feeling stupid last night.
I
And
like
I
this
just
guy.
got it.
Sorry.
Check
Michael
watch
Corrigan,
out for
check watch out for
clues.
clues.
You son of a jerk. Okay, so last night I was feeling silly, and I posted up on Instagram just like, I'm working on reviews and coverage for 4 phones.
Mm-hmm.
What phones would you pair up with which fall flavors? Pumpkin spice, apple cider, salted caramel, or pecan pie? And just like, it's the Vivo, the Xperia Pro I, the Pixel 6, and the Duo 2. And just like, it's been funny. It's been hilarious seeing people like, well, I feel like this phone's classic, so it's more of an apple cider kind of a flavor. But this phone is kind of overhyped, so that's pumpkin spice. And you're like, that's hilarious. That is so funny. This is the dumbest thing.
It is slightly overhyped. I like it.
It's a little overrated, right?
They took you on, man.
Yeah. So this is brilliant. What has also been funny is just the fact that I put 4 phones with letters. People are just picking their favorite phone. So most of the comments are like B. And you're like, that's not what I was asking, but I guess.
Oh, they didn't. No.
This phone.
There's a certain part
It's
of
hilarious.
Instagram that does not read the description of a post. They go straight for the image, and yeah. But I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a leading image.
Well, yes, because there is a sorting and a categorization, but the goal wasn't to pick a winner. The goal was to do something silly like, I think this phone is like a cherry jubilee sundae. And you're like, okay, why? Bonus points if you tell me why. So here, what I am working on, it is not germane. It is not fair. It's
like
sort of
this one.
cidery.
Sorta
I would be
cidery.
all about a sort of cidery. Like kind of reddish and brownish color accents, kind of fall leaves, but it's got kind of like a Honeycrisp apple kind of a thing going on. I would be all about that. I've got some Honeycrisp apple cider in my fridge right now, which as soon as we're done talking, I'm going to go and just chug straight from the bottle because it's like crack delicious. Not that I know that crack is delicious. Um,
That I
the
know that crack is the. Oh my God, where is Aditya when we need him? Oh my
right.
God, man, dude,
I
it
just I
recognizes. Okay, so okay, so no, go. My
So
mistake.
anyway,
Yeah.
short story, incredibly long. This all took way too long to explain. The showdown that I'm working on for cameras is going to be Pixel 6,
Hmm.
Xperia Pro I, and Vivo X70 Pro Plus.
As I would
There is
imagine.
no point in including a Duo 2 in a camera showdown against those three phones. The only reason for me to include it in there would be to continuously say, and the Duo 2 is the loser. All three of these phones are winners. Like, there genuinely isn't one that I feel like objectively is to bestest.
Hmm.
They are all bringing very unique and very specific aspects of content creation to the table. I
Hmm.
think the Pixel 6 is going to be broadly accessible. I think the Vivo is the hardest of the three to get a feel for, but actually kind of has some of the most um, uh, flexibility to offer. And then the Sony is just like, it's a camera. I mean, Sony's just trying to make their phone into an alpha as much as they possibly can.
It's
The
seriously, yeah.
Duo, the Duo is not in that conversation. It's it's not even it's like talking about Major League Baseball and watching like a really good high school game, right? It's the same sport, but it's
Yeah, yeah.
played at very different skill levels and
Very,
very
very,
different
yeah.
speeds.
Very rarely ever do you see a player's mom and dad jumping down and screaming at the umpire or anything like that at any kind of major league. That's very rare.
Right.
Very,
Now,
very rare.
so I feel like there's gonna be I feel like moving forward, we're going to be picking some of our pros and cons. And I'm hoping that this is the beginning of dedicated camera centric phones and then all rounder phones where we don't have to spend the whole review trying to talk about camera stuff. I feel like the rumors that we saw for the Pixel Fold,
Hmm.
I'd be very surprised if the Pixel Fold is using Pixel 6 cameras. I'm very confident that it'll have the same camera module as a Pixel 5a.
Hmm.
I mean, like, that makes a lot of sense to me. You don't want to add additional depth. You want to stick with something that is very well understood. It's a
Hmm.
solid all-rounder performer. The
Absolutely. Yeah.
results that you get out of those kinds of cameras are fantastic. They're very good. And that's what the Duo is going for. That is not the same conversation as what you can do on a Pro I or even a Pixel 6. Like, it's just miles different. So I kind of hope that there's this kind of an accounting. Like, my wife has handled the Pixel 6 Pro and taken a couple photos.
Hmm.
One of them was a dim indoor shot of Lex side lit by one like low output warm lamp.
Okay.
And the Pixel 6 nailed the instant she hit the shutter button. That is an example of where a Pixel 6 can outperform a Pixel 4a or 5a. That's kind of, and I mean, that's not a like a core usage scenario for our smartphone cameras. And so I feel like we can now make that a harder schism.
Okay.
Are you really telling me camera? Because if you're really telling me camera, we've got some camera centric phones. Are you really telling me productivity? Because now we've got some folding mini tablet-y things that
Hmm.
can really get more work done in any given moment. And I like this kind of more specific specialization as we kind of look at these different pockets of devices. And it's okay if an expensive device doesn't have the bestest cameras because we can kind of focus. Like, the cameras are good enough. The cameras on the Duo 2 are solid shooters. They
Hmm.
perform admirably well. They do what you need them to do. The point of the Duo 2 is not to try and shoot cinematically like you would on a Sony.
No, no, it's productivity. It's the focus of the device is very different. Like you said, it's what you're. It's like if a Pixel tablet does, tablet, sorry, foldable does get released, it wouldn't make sense for it to have the same camera experience as what you expect from the 6 Pro. I think it would be more like you said with the 5A 5G. Oh my, the 5A 5G type of an experience. That,
Do you
the
still say
sensors.
5G? I just say
I
5A.
It's the 5A. I mean, it's technically the
There was
Xperia.
no
What
5A
Xperia Pro
non-5G.
i5. I think 5G needs to drop because it's like that whole 4G LTE kind of conversation. Everything
Hey,
coming out
we've
now.
got we've got alt dead tech. I mean,
Oh,
seriously, dude, David, you should not be awake right now. This is like way past your bedtime.
oh my God, dude. He's probably shooting some videos. I have a feeling he's probably shooting some content, putting it up.
Oh, I definitely know that grind too. I've got so
Uh,
much to edit. I shot 3 videos today. I've got 3 more videos in the can, and I've got 2 scripts up that I'm going to try and get shot over the weekend. I've got a short for reviews.org that needs to go up tomorrow, and then a main video that needs to go up next Tuesday. I mean, it's just, this is harvest season.
it is definitely, and it's gonna get busier as the end of the year. This is it's that time of the year. It's starting up. I mean, we're in November, man. November 5th is tomorrow, man. We are Thanksgiving is a few weeks away. Black Friday is 3 weeks away, and then we have Christmas and
Damn.
New Year's. It's seriously 2021 is hitting that end mark, but it is literally not letting up at all. So one thing I forgot to ask. So far you've had the Duo 2 for about a couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
Overall, has adapting to this one, and I think I asked this last time, but adapting to the Duo 2 this time, was it easier than it is when you first got the first Duo from the improvement in software? Because I haven't had a chance to play with it realistically, like to live in with it.
Yeah.
How has it been between the two? Has the Duo 2 lived up to its expectations? Is it getting better as you get used to it?
One of the things, yes, ultimately, yes. I mean, it really shouldn't be that shocking or that surprising to say the launch experience of Duo 2 phenomenally better than the launch experience of Duo 1. Like, it's a completely different animal. The extra horsepower does kind of help for some of the side-by-side multitasking experiences. I never felt Duo 1 was underpowered.
Okay.
But it's like stepping up to 90 hertz displays does make things feel a little snappier. I don't know that you really launch apps faster. It just feels a little more responsive. One of the things that I need to play around with just a little bit more, I kind of liked the beta software strategy better
On the
on the
launcher, the
Duo
Microsoft,
1
yeah, the Microsoft launcher
because
beta, I remember.
Microsoft is now making moves to pull Microsoft Launcher from being an app that updates. For Duo, now it's more a core component of the operating system that I guess is going to be updated more through OTAs. And I think that's a
Oh,
step in the wrong direction.
I
I
was about to
like,
say, I think everybody's shifting away to go to the
exactly.
other side.
This feels incorrect to me. And so it's one of the small gripes that I've got with just what I feel Microsoft's mission is going to be, because it's one of the things I really like on the Pixel 6. There are so many Google core services that are now just updates in Google Play. There's intelligence services, there's connectivity services, there's um, there are 4. I've been having issues with standby times and
Hmm.
Wi-Fi and 5G connectivity. We
Okay.
just literally today got an update to the background service that handles data connectivity in the background. So now, I mean, my review that's going out tomorrow is already out of date. I mean, that's what's exciting about pulling those components out and making them direct. I mean, as soon as the Google 5G radio software developer is ready to go with an update, it's just pushed directly to your phone. You don't have to wait for an OTA. So that kind of thing is bugging me on the Duo, that Microsoft looks like they're taking their beta program and making it more of a closed black box. I wish we I wish we had a bit more access to some of those beta services. But on the whole, it is so much more responsive. It is
Okay.
so much more fluid. It's still just a really sticky gesture feel. You pick up most Android phones and you kind of get a feel for how you can kind of like flick and swipe through the UI. And when you pick up a Duo, your actions need to be deliberate.
Yeah.
So like if I just kind of try to like flick it,
it's going to throw it to the other window.
Well, it could flip to the other window, but there are too many directions that have specific interactions. So like when you swipe up for multitasking, you know, if you go to one side, what you're going to do is span. So you have to know that you flick to the opposite side to swipe the app away when you're multitasking. True, yeah. I mean, it does not feel like anything else. So you spend a couple days feeling like it's fighting you. Like it's not responsive because it's not doing what you thought.
I felt the same way with the first Duo, the first couple of days I got it. Yeah. Till I installed the beta, but yeah.
That's still a part of this. I mean, the beta made it a little bit better. I feel like when we talk about this being a tablet, though, it can't be as casual as a phone. You need to make these actions specific because it can span, you can transfer to the other display, it can swipe out and be closed, it can be swiped up, and then when you change the orientation, you have to remember the orientation rotation for how your gestures are adjusted for portrait mode, even though all of your apps are still in landscape. See, that's what messes you up. Is this is portrait mode, but your apps
are in landscape.
So
Regardless of which form, yeah, they're in portrait when they're in landscape, and it's landscape when it's the orientation of the display, the way the display is. If it's sitting sideways, you're looking at it as if
Microsoft is kind of
sideways.
breaking Android to make Android smarter at handling those kind of uses. On a normal phone, your apps are kind of square if you split screen. You're not, you know, like, it's not portrait or landscape because you'd have half the screen
half the screen is on there. Yeah, you're doing two apps in a weird. It's a format that it's multitasking, but this is true multitasking where both apps are running in a specific. There are actually two instances, and they're not fighting for landscape on your display. You have to kind of use it. And I forgot, you're right. And if you want to expand to make it into a full screen, that changes the experience as well. Everything is intentional. I think that's what you need to be aware of. Yeah. On the Duo, it's a little bit different, but it's intentional.
And it's intentional in a different way from a Fold. Because in a Fold, you have to make more of a conscious effort to multitask. Whereas a Duo assumes
you can't stumble into multitask.
Yeah, but and I want to make this clear, like, because it's a single palette, there is no separation between two displays on a Fold. I do feel it's the correct. I think the Fold is the wrong orientation. Like, I think it should fold in the on the other. axis.
I totally agree. I think the Fold should be on the other side, not the way they gave it to us. Yeah.
But I think it's the correct move to assume that when someone opens to the larger canvas and they push an app, one app pops up on the screen. When you have a dual display, I think it's the correct move to assume one app is going to occupy one display, and then you have a free display ready for a second app. And that is a very different philosophy of how deliberate your actions need to be. For a Duo, you need to deliberately enact spanned mode. On a Fold, you need to deliberately enact multitasking. And to me, both are correct, but because they're significantly different at doing similar things.
But I still feel like the Fold needs a little bit more improvement over what we've seen, because for some reason the Fold has pretty much two modes. It's the full mode, the half, which we've seen on Android before. But then when they introduce the third app to allow you to do three apps at the same time, it's limited to the right side for some reason. Like I would rather,
because they ripped it off LG.
But I feel like
no, they copied it off LG. Samsung, they just copy everybody.
They invented it, man. They invented it the moment they made it available on.
They invented copying LG. You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely, it was right after they invented copying Apple. It was in that same book, just chapter 2 after chapter 1.
Yeah, chapter 1 copy Apple. Well, no, chapter 1 make fun of Apple.
Oh yeah.
No.
And then do
chapter 2.
We're gonna
Chapter 1 make fun of Apple. Chapter 2,
Two.
copy Apple.
Apple.
Chapter
Yeah.
3,
Three.
make fun of LG.
Fun of LG. Chapter 4.
Then Chapter 4, copy LG.
Copy
Yeah,
LG.
it's the book. So
But no, what I meant though is like from a sense of functionality, I feel like we're missing aspects of where there should totally be the option of having the split options at the top and allow us to use more of a bottom part, depending what you're using with the different apps. It doesn't allow you to do a lot. It's functional, but I would still much rather on the Fold just use 2 as opposed to 3. The 3 it doesn't really.
I agree. Man, I mean, like, I feel like last week we had one of these moments too. This is one of those areas where I have to commend Samsung for getting as far as they have, because using the Duo and having played around with the Fold 2 and the Fold 3, Android is really dumb. It's so dumb at handling different aspect ratios, different form factors, and making good use of larger canvases, because it assumes a larger canvas is going to be like 16 by 9 or skinnier.
Yeah, it's a tablet format.
It's really dumb.
It's primarily because Google is not the one innovating in this field. All of the OEMs are pushing
Android
the
12L is absolutely Microsoft and Samsung dragging Google kicking and screaming into bringing back Android tablet.
Michael Corcoran's is right on. So Michael Corcoran's right on board there. Microsoft needs 12L.
No. I disagree. Android 12 just needs to be minimally functional at understanding different sizes, aspect ratios, and display resolution density. That's it. Android 12L is gonna be a hot mess when it first launches, because Android is super dumb at moving its shape around. And that's why we've had things like Dex. You notice Dex is not an expanded Android canvas. It is a wholly and completely different UI. And same thing with these other sort of augmented desktop modes. Getting Android as the functional UI to better understand this type of hardware and these types of form factors is monumental, because Google has not paid tablets any attention. I mean, Android as a tablet interface is basically only a lowest common denominator multimedia consumption device at the cheapest possible price points. It's Samsung is really the only one who's kept a premium tablet line alive, and now Microsoft is contributing significantly to that too. So, sorry, short story, incredibly long, getting back to your point there. You are correct that in terms of design and functionality, we should be able to we should be able to go 4 apps. We should be able to better draw lines for where we want those apps to
and
live
customize how
the
shape should be done.
I feel Samsung, that's not a Samsung problem. Samsung has actually pulled Android into a usage that is well advanced of what Android can really do. Same thing with the Duo. The Duo is like stretching Android to its absolute limits to incorporate this kind of functionality. We've got to get after Google to start expanding on this. And then from there, we've got to get on app developers to make better use of larger slates in their apps. So like when you see panels and you see like I should be able to customize this or have this information on one half,
especially when you have a bigger canvas to play with. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because right now we just blow up a phone app and we get less information on the screen than if we were using it on a smaller screen.
No, absolutely. Like
so
initially,
bad.
when you first open up the Fold and launch Instagram, if you don't change the setting in for the display, it puts it in tunnel mode. It essentially you're getting sidebars on Instagram because Instagram is not designed. I mean, app developers absolutely. I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, somebody if it can correct me in the comments below. Do iPads still not have Instagram? Is Instagram still a zoomed-in app? Because that was the longest run that I've had that I could remember.
So like all that tech, David is saying, are we talking about scaling UI? And to a degree, yes. But we're also talking about taking, say, an app that's sort of built around the notion of 16 by 9 or up to 21 by 9 aspect ratio, when we move that to 4 by 3, it's often not an issue with just resolution scaling. Because if you just scale the resolution, you're kind of just cropping to the 4 by 3 cut of what would normally be like
changing the
an
DPI
18 by 9.
Exactly.
So this is a multifaceted problem where the operating system needs to know what the device is. Like a Surface is a bit smarter at understanding what it is. And it knows, Microsoft has taught it what it needs to know for single screen use versus dual display use versus spanned use versus portrait or landscape use. It's actually pretty sophisticated for Android. I mean, I'm setting the bar kind of low there. But what we also then need to do at the tail end of this is talk to app developers and say, your app should function as a phone app first and foremost, but when we detect that the display got broader, like going from the outer display of a fold to the inner display of a fold, something should make better use of this. And like if you have a cloud storage app, I want to see a better folder structure, like a flow chart of all of your folders and organization, and then an active area where content's being displayed from one of those individual folders. And that's so much more useful to me than just blowing up a phone app for my cloud storage. And that's, I mean, like, but we need to do that with everything. We need to do that with YouTube to make better use of YouTube for comments or live chat or advertisements and video windows. We need to do that for camera apps. We need to do that for everything so that we can make this, make this smarter. It's actually one of the things that I do like about the Duo better than the Fold, though, is that you don't have a different aspect ratio display. So when you go from single screen to dual display, it's just one of the displays. It doesn't have to reformat the app when you open the Duo
you don't face the crashing function that it currently is. In some apps will run, even if you go in and turn on beta features where it allows more apps to run. Certain apps still crash, and you have to, when you go in and it starts, you notice that it restarted. It's not a continuing relationship.
Well, and David's saying that the Instagram on the iPad is just the iPhone blown up. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. But how many years has the iPad been out? Like
I just feel like Instagram has missed, and I mean not like missed. At any point, Facebook could turn around and just
they don't want people with iPads walking around taking pictures and creating. I think they're making.
But don't you think? But you know, like you've seen how so many like Reddit apps format for like panels and cards, and then a structure of subreddits that you read. I mean, even like I like Reddit is fun because it looks like old BBS message boards. I know. The
little robot.
So,
yeah.
And it's so stark. It's so dumb simple, but I like that better. But even when I throw that on a tablet, it automatically reformats to have panels. So,
and as it should be, it should use the extra space. Don't stretch.
And I feel like Instagram should be doing something like that too. You could have a constant chart of like all of your feed and all of the people and like your Instagram stories, and then that sides out to like a more appropriate use of the larger display on the side. And I think that to me would be a much better look. Like Instagram on an iPad would be kind of rad if you could turn it into a Reddit style app.
I think I agree, and I think it's been one of those weird. I don't know why 2021 by now we do, it still doesn't exist. Not that I'm a heavy iPad user. I do have one, but it hasn't. I don't use it realistically. I just remember for the longest time when I first when I was getting on Instagram setting it up, and then year after year I keep checking, and it just seems like no, they're giving up. They're like, people should be fine with a zoomed in app that's plain compatibility mode on an iPad, because that's how
they'll use it and they'll like it.
And apparently that's how they've been living with it. There's a lot of things coming up, and I also noticed speaking of things updating. You posted a video early this morning. You did about an LDAC update on the. Yeah. So that was actually a nice little surprise.
So, this is actually something I need to kick my own ass about. I haven't really paid much attention to LHDC
So well, because we haven't had that many devices or that
that
have it
support
yet.
it,
I think the OnePlus Buds Pro are the first ones that I personally,
but not on a OnePlus. That's
I
what
it,
cracks me up.
I
I
got
have
it
a
running on a
video.
Nord 2, which was not
I have
supposed to run it.
a video that's going to be going out on the OnePlus Buds Pro next week,
Hmm.
where inadvertently OnePlus has made some of my favorite earbuds for Xiaomi phones because I at least have support for their
I I
high
don't.
resolution.
It,
But
it was a
so
surprise.
these,
Yeah,
but these are the edifiers. These are the Neo
yeah.
Buds Pro. I was a little confused because I thought they were going to send the NB Pro. Was it the NB Pro 2, which are actually less expensive and less techy earbuds than the Neo Buds Pro. It's, to me, it's confusing the way that they've named some of their products. Dual driver design, Bluetooth 5.1 or 5.2, I can't remember, launched with LHDC.
Hmm.
Now, just recently got updated to support LDAC, which means it's now much more broadly compatible with all of my other Android phones.
Hmm.
Just a, they're a little techy. I don't think they're the easiest buds to set up, but genuinely, like, just shocking good value for where
Hmm.
we're at with multi-driver, active, several stages of active noise cancellation, an ambient mode, some really specific and granular tuning options that you can get in there, and you can really tweak these. I've kind of tweaked them to be slightly brighter soundcore style
Oh, okay.
earbuds. So like I'm kind of going after that because so Soundcore kind of rocked my socks because when they started doing dual driver, they stacked. So they have a dynamic driver and a balanced arm that sits right on top of that dynamic driver. Sometimes what you'll have is kind of an offset balanced arm next to a dynamic driver, and for some reason what Soundcore did in stacking those just amplifies low frequency. It's this hard attack and this rumble decay, and if you're a bass junkie, you need to be looking at those liberties. But sometimes, hey, we're gonna get to those. I'm gonna wrap these up real fast. But sometimes you run into issues where that kind of stacked sound can kind of muddle your mids just a
Hmm.
bit. The sort of acoustic attention to two drivers creating sound can sometimes get a little lost. And so the edifiers, to me, are a little too mellow out of the box.
Okay.
They're warm, there's a lot of low frequency, they've got some good sub bass, but I want just that little bit more articulation. So I get them updated. I had to go through and dig. You know, that's what's kind of annoying. I had to dig through some settings to turn on LDAC and then turn on highest quality because they default to stable connection. And
Okay.
then I tweaked the EQ in the Edifier app, and these things just woke up. I mean,
Nice.
like
That's
the mids were so much crisper, articulation around guitar distortion was just razor wire again. The quality, I mean, again, you can kind of hear when you step up that quality when you've been dealing with Bluetooth compression, everything just got so much cleaner. And again, it's for something that's less expensive than a pair of AirPods, but significantly more techie advanced than AirPods for all of the acoustic stuff.
hmm.
It was really refreshing to see them make a promise because there's not even LDAC on the side of the box.
No,
They,
no.
they don't. They
Yeah.
don't. They never listed it on the box as a feature because you genuinely didn't have it at launch. So I think they launched about 3 months ago. The
Okay.
update happened a couple weeks ago, and I feel for like in that $100 to $150 territory, it's really refreshing getting a pair of consumer earbuds where the software update isn't just like stability bug fix. Like
Oh
they
my God,
added,
every single up. Yeah, sorry. It's
yeah, they
it's a
added
copy
a
paste. What are you doing this night? Just copy paste, stability update, patch
bug
updates. Yep.
fix.
Bug
Yeah,
fix. Bug.
they
Such a
added an
descriptive
entirely new
relationship.
codec,
Hmm.
and they did it wonderfully well. So I'm very positive on Edifier. I don't think these are the earbuds that you just casually pair with your phone and get on with your day. These are the earbuds where if you want to tweak a bit, you want to sculpt a bit, and then you feel confident like you can get in there with some of like the codec settings. I think you're highly rewarded for picking up a pair of Neobuds.
I like it.
But we got to talk about these frames.
Dude, no, definitely. And I also want to, one last thing, because we start talking Soundcore and so on. They also brought in LDAC support to their Liberty 2 Pros from last year for like anybody that picked up the original pair. Updating them and adding LDAC so later.
That's big.
Obviously, as they're releasing the 3 Pros, to me was like, wow, what a way of just rewarding somebody that invested and backed you up like early enough. And the Liberty 2 Pros, I mean, by far one of my favorite. And of course,
and especially because we're talking about brands that have never been bank breakers.
Yeah.
I mean, there are earbuds that are significantly more expensive that have not gotten this kind of attention from like One More, from Soundcore, from
absolutely
Edifier, from Earfun. Earfuns are dirt cheap. And they're regularly getting, I mean, often it's not like, hey, we're going to give you this whole new codec, but they're regularly getting attention. Again, we could go on, but you need to tell me about these shades.
When they reached out and they were like, hey, we're making some shades, and they showed me some pictures and so on, I was like, great, I'm going to start looking like El Jefe. This is pretty much how the show is going to go from now on. Right. I'm going to headphones on. We're just going to do the show. Welcome back to the show, guys. Everybody's doing great. I was actually surprised. I was surprised because I've seen and I've used a few pair of frames or glasses that offer us speakers. Most of them focus always on one aspect of it, which essentially is it's a frame. You get to use it. Whatever frame comes with it is the one that you live in, and the experience is also focused on a single speaker driving audio into our ears because it's positioned in the spot. Like, I mean, obviously we're going to move it here, but it's positioned in a spot where it basically points the audio straight into our ears. That's how typical. These feature 2 speakers per ear. They boost the audio from one pointing in, which is the typical, but there's another one around it from the back, which simulates that surround sound. I mean, it's obviously not true surround, but when you turn it on, audio is much more pronounced. The mids and highs are definitely much better. Audio, especially vocals, were definitely very good. Bass obviously will not replace anything that's in ear. You just don't get that experience because it's trying to simulate it. But seriously though, simulated surround sound on these frames was crazy good. I was very surprised. And then of course they included an extra frames that I'm actually able to change the look of my glasses. I mean, who would have thunk it? Seriously, like Bose, don't get me wrong, Bose obviously offer a lot of things, but you have to pay $200 for every look. And I'm not going to buy $200. I mean, if I'm really into it, I don't think that would make sense. And these, you literally just pick up whatever frame you want. They did send me a clear one, and I'm going to be getting my prescription put into that one because I really like having an open ear experience, like going around doing work and things.
So
and
the
having
question I got to ask, because those look like a better, I don't know where I put them. Oh, here they are. So the audio frames that I played with, the View Smarts, where I'm just gonna look like I just wear glasses because I have transitions lenses, even though I don't have a prescription in these for no good reason. The one thing I want desperately on glasses like this would be audio commands. Is there anything? So can you do like?
Without the assistant, without touching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no touch. Play, pause, answer calls, hang up on calls, skip track, skip back, change volume, all hands-free without initiating a command. So there's no, hey, and insert your favorite thing. No. Those are on. They're in the beta section, and I don't know why they put them specifically in the beta section. But voice commands on this are an absolute must because if your hands are dirty and you need to do something, last thing you want is to be able to tap, swipe, the ninja jujitsu kind of thing going on. Seriously, it is they're not the same commands that you think of when you're using like with Google or with other assistants out there. But yes, hands-free, absolutely. Any day, no issues. I think it's literally play, pause, skip tracks, back and forth, and volume up, volume down, as well as answer and hang up. So when a call is coming in, you can tell it to answer. So like, I mean, literally, Anchor and Soundcore, when they put things together, they're definitely going in for function. They're
Yeah.
pointing it out. Not only does it sound better, but the fact that I can just take out the glasses and in literally less than one, like I can snap on, put whatever frame I want. And like I said, they sent me three, one with a clear glass, but the other one has like the aviator, the Top Gun type
Mm-hmm.
of thing going on. I like these the most because they're the closest to my frame. Because, like when I look at the frame, but the one thing I will also say is, look how thin. Like seriously, I mean, I don't know if I can get it. See, okay, here it is. See, yeah, my
That's
camera's
really
working today.
clean.
The frame is very thin, and they last for about 5 hours. I got about 5 hours worth of usage out of them, and the secondary speaker is ever so gentle. It looks really nice, and of course, sound core is all over the side. But they definitely they look good. I like it, and I don't know. Oh, no, you can't hear. There's no microphone. There's earpiece, but so yeah, they connected to my Pixel 6 Pro. So I've been enjoying it there. And it's fun. It's always nice to see tech
Those are really
improve.
sharp.
Yeah, yeah,
So
no,
the only thing I need is what I need the old LG tone voice interactions where we could reply to messages
yeah. So that function, unfortunately,
directly.
yeah, because it's built into the frames themselves, it does not. You have the ability of interacting with Google, but you have to
Yeah,
actually press and hold to initiate it,
to do
and
the
then
assistant. Yeah.
yeah, and then you can try to do some of those where it says, read my notifications, and it reads it, and then if you want to reply, you could try, or you can ask it to send a message.
Hmm.
That part works. But unfortunately, I think that yeah, it's not part of what they were focusing on. They felt like, let's not make it into another assistant. Let's make the voice commands be functional, and they got that done
Hmm.
right. The audio's done right. The battery life is right, and they got the looks. I honestly, they have like I want to say 12, 8 or no, not 8, 12 frames, 10 to 12. Sorry, 10
Nice.
to 12 frames. And the charger really, the one thing I liked is it's a daisy chain charger, so it sits right on the actual hands on the arms, and you can put everything inside of the case, carry it with you whenever you go, and just get it done. I like it. I'm very happy that they're jumping into this game. The Liberty 3 Pros are still my favorite, obviously for quality,
Hmm.
but when it comes down for versatility and day to day, where I don't have to keep grabbing my, just these are the best. I can,
Yeah.
the really
I've
nice
been
thing,
trying. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
you could put them on like this, and let's say I want to be on a phone call but still edit video. Totally works for me. I
Yeah.
can have them play the audio in my ears. I can hear things, and I can have this play the voice from the video, and I can get
Open ear
multitasking.
is really cool regardless, like
Hmm.
being able to kind of, but just the notion that you can stack audio on those is kind of
Dude,
ridiculous.
Michael Corcoran is. I'm wearing the LG Tone Flex right now. He's flexing right now.
Oh, I mean, like, I think I've still got the one that I'm talking about. It had this little activation button, and I just like it blew my mind. I'm just walking through Costco, and my wife is texting me. I'm getting the alert in my ear while I'm listening to a podcast, and I click the button, and I hear it read the text. I
Hmm.
click the button again. I speak my reply. It reads off the reply just to make sure it got it right. And
And it
like,
sends it.
I never took my phone out that entire
Yep.
time. It was just this constant. I was. It was funny because basically I was having a conversation with my wife where I could have just called her, like I was using my voice. But she was texting me, so that's kind of the way just that went down. That to me is kind of like that last step for things like these frames is getting back to that level of interaction
And,
where
and
we can kind of
the focal binaural were definitely going to be that step closer that I
ah,
felt like where
they
I
were
missed,
so good.
and it's been over a year now. We haven't heard a thing back. Google's obviously working on
Just
something.
kills
We
me.
know that part, but what is it and where is it? And it sounds like it's probably going to be 2022 at the earliest.
Because I was voice actioning everything.
I
I,
remember.
I
No, I.
I was walking around. I mean, like the first time I flew with them, I mean, it was early days for my Discord, and like I'm still trying to hang out with the guys in the Discord, even though I'm stuck on this layover. And the entire time I'm walking through this airport, I'm using that little ring to
Hmm.
kind of like just scan through the messages. And then when a new message would pop up, I'd get this instant prompt that I could just go right into a voice reply and again, I'm looking around this airport, I'm walking around, I'm checking out flight information. At no point did I ever pull my phone out. And I was in that Discord like for 2 hours, just kind of like chatting with people and replying to comments and stuff. And it was fantastic. So
That's
again, I
the
just
next
need,
frontier for sure.
yeah, exactly. I need that back. I had it. Not the next frontier. It's the current frontier.
It's
I
the
had it.
we
It
want that frontier
existed.
back. Yeah, no, no.
I want it. I want it
It's
back
it's
so
one of
bad.
those. Some of my initial aspirations of what glass was going to be from Google, and then that kind of fizzled a
Yeah.
little bit.
I'm gonna take these off.
And Focal by North were those were the ones I was really hoping, and I finally got in touch with their PR. We were hoping, and then literally a month after, they're like, "Hey, we'll have you on the list. Hopefully things will work out." I got an email saying, "Sorry, we just got bought out by Google."
I was
And it,
getting those PR like embargoed press releases about Gen 2.
yeah, no, no,
We've got this
that's
exciting announcement. We've got all of these new software features. These are the things that are going to be coming next. I mean, like, it was getting that close. And then it felt like from 1 month to the next, the
it was
company went from being almost on the cusp of launching Gen 2 to vanishing. And
to
like, it killed
congratulations, we
me,
got
just
sold. Yeah, no, it's
killed me.
I'm hoping whatever they do put together is something that obviously will be much better than what we would have gotten a year ago, and with that being obviously Gen 2, Gen 3, whatever they've put out, it is something that Google is working on. I think they're focusing on it. I think that's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for them. I just wished it would have been dealt with like some of the other companies where, even though it's part of it, they allow them to still exist. Like they
I mean,
allow them to release Gen
genuinely,
2. Yeah.
it's genuinely, I need an interface that makes sense for consumer facing glasses.
Yeah.
And, if it's running Wear OS, I'd kind of be fine with that. Keep Wear OS up at eye level so I have that constant accessibility, and then I can better use Google Assistant for some of those actions. Because it was one of the bummers of Focals by North that a lot of your search stuff was really more Amazon Echo, because their partnership was with Amazon when they originally launched. It was actually the first time I got to play Focals by North. It was in one of those like Amazon hubs. Like we went to CES, and you go to one of these like, here are all the things that Amazon is working on through these other companies that are kind of under our umbrella. That's where I found them. So again, it was kind of surprising to me that they got bought out by Google. But now that they're bought out by Google, if they can figure out a way to make the eyepiece more accessible so that you don't need to be so biologically custom fit to only your retina, then I mean, put Wear OS on there, give me the Wear OS interface. We've got plenty of horsepower in these little tiny chiplet SoCs now. And we could probably jump right to making this a 5G connected device, or at least an LTE connected device. I'm ready to have this back.
Yeah, I think on wearable 5G is a bit much, but yeah, I'm with you. 4G
But at
can
least
be
LTE,
more than a
just something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, LTE could actually LTE in certain markets rivals 5G, but I think I thought about that very hard when the new smartwatches coming out are all coming out for 4G 5 LTE. And I'm like, you know what? For what they are and for what they're needing, yeah, no need to
Yeah.
add a much more power hungry modem into that little tiny. We've optimized the crap out of the 4G LTE modem experience. I think that's what you should be putting in there. The battery life is the biggest thing. So with that being said, I know we kind of went a little bit longer. Tonight's conversation is definitely very, very, as Steve DeRoche mentioned, AI Juan entered the chat as
Oh no.
So the week's not over yet. I'm trying to try to put a video. I shot a little bit ahead. I'm trying to put together a quick comparison between the One Mark III and the Xperia Pro I. I feel like those are two devices. They're released so close to each other with a very different philosophy into what Sony's trying to give us. A pro to a consumer, to a general, maybe prosumer, but truly a little bit more pro of an experience. So I'm trying to see if I can get that hopefully out tomorrow. It may end up being a little bit late. A few things got to go take care of housekeeping and stuff like that around the house, but that's my next video, at least, that I'm working on. What do you have set up for tomorrow? I think you mentioned
I'm gonna try and get so the first pass on my Pixel 6 video. It's 23 minutes long.
Oh, nice.
So I'm not sure. I might just keep it. I have a few little snarky bits in there that I think like I could kind of cut maybe. But it's I'm gonna call it a review, and the entire time I'm talking about this phone in the video, it's not really a review. I mean, going a couple weeks with this phone, I still feel like the promise of this phone is very much unrealized, and the experience of this phone is something that deserves that longer term examination. And a review, when you call something a review, it always feels so conclusive.
Oh, I know. El Jefe
So
is questioning your chops right there. 23 minutes.
right.
I'm suspicious.
Right. Well, and I mean, like I even upfront on the video, like I make a big point out of like, hey, I'm gonna try and just tell you why I like this phone. If you hit my comments just quoting other YouTubers at me, I'm gonna go back to being a snarky asshole in my videos. So let's not do that, because I don't want to play that game with this phone. But I still feel like we're watching this tone turn on a phone that is like the beginning of every new initiative from Google, and has barely had any time to refine itself, and is way ahead of the curve compared to like Samsung and their Android 12 ambitions. And I just feel like I got to put a video out because I have to put a video out. But I really feel like this conversation is a starting point and not what we would normally think of as like, this review sums up my experiences with this device. I've never been that guy anyway, but I feel even more strongly that like this is a conversation that needs to play out over time. I just need to start the conversation somewhere. So here's the right place to start it.
I think that's a good point, and I'm driving into something similar to that. Hopefully in early next week. I have to say I've been very pleased with the performance. Although with certain, like I said, certain parts of it, like we talked about it throughout the show, different aspects of Pixel, and it just like you said, it's still new. It just literally got launched a week, like not even 2 weeks ago. Seriously, most of us are barely getting around.
Consumers have had it for a week.
Barely, and
So I need everyone who's like obsessing over individual pixels of UI complaints. If that's really your gig, do it. But I need you to hit every iPhone with that energy. When the iPhone is 5 days old, you need to tell me that you can't figure out who the iPhone is for and how these changes to the UI make it completely incomprehensible. And when Samsung takes another month to launch an operating system update behind Google, I need you to go after them in the first 4 days that phone launches and explain to everybody why I don't know that you should buy this phone because it can't do things. It's a mystery if Google even updates their I could look up the updates, but that would mean I would have to Google it, and I don't do research for my videos. I need all of that energy to be the same.
yeah, no,
If you're gonna hit it, if you're gonna hit Pixel 6 with this kind of energy, I need exactly that kind of energy on iPhone 14 and Galaxy S22, and then we're cool. You just hate everything, fine. But I'm kind of over this, like, the Pixel's been out for 4 days and it's not magically 100% perfectly polished, is lame, because that's not how tech works.
No, and it is not acceptable to be, like I said, it's being biased on one side over the other. It's like you start in with an impression, and you're driving the conversation to come back to that impression as to the other device is much better. So looking forward to that video for you from tomorrow. I think that'll be a good video to actually end the week, but definitely not the conversation on the Pixel 6 Pro. I haven't had a chance to spend some time with the Pixel 6, unfortunately yet, but I don't know. I may end up trying it out. I may pick one up directly from T-Mobile. Those seem to be available much more than trying to get a Pixel 6 Pro with 256 gigs of internal storage. I'm probably going to end up just working with this. I'm not going to try to see if I can get I mean, this is going to be almost as long as trying to get the Steam Deck to deliver on time. They're in late January now.
Yes.
like January 26th to almost end of January for
Man,
somebody wanting to buy it.
you
So
know,
yeah,
and that's maybe the last kind of note is like holiday season is coming up for all of the major holidays. I mean, stuff is going to get tight. Supply chains are going to be rough.
there is. Yeah, there are
Product.
already a lot of recommendations to start if you're looking into some of those. Availabilities are going to be tight. You're right.
So plan ahead. I feel like this is a really good year. Like if you were thinking like, hey, maybe I'll buy my mom a new tablet, where you break out some construction paper and you draw her a beautiful tablet card, and in there is a hand drawn and hand cut out coupon for a new tablet when they're in stock.
You'll
And if
get
you
it.
can kind of lean into it, I feel like that as a gesture will kind of help you through the holiday season because it's going to get real lean
Or
as
you
we
know
get
what? Or
closer
you
and
could just
closer to the end
you
of the
could
year.
just go old school and do IO. I'm just kidding. The IOU booklets. No, I'm with you. It definitely. We're gonna end up having to see how this goes, kind of things, and how
For
things
sure.
are. So with that, I want to definitely say thank you very much for everybody for hanging out with us. If you haven't checked it out yet, please make sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. We definitely would appreciate it, and it would feed the algorithm gods to a certain aspect. And I will also say, obviously, the conversation is not over. We're available here on Instagram, not Instagram, on Twitter. Like, please, yeah, no. I'm not really good on Instagram chat. Twitter, definitely much easier. So we're available on Twitter, on YouTube, obviously, and of course, the chat with the Discord over on Some Gadget Guy, Juan Carlos Bagnell on the Patreon, if you guys like to check him out as well. So with that being said, thank you very much, everybody. Aditya, Jonathan, Chop in there. Nice to meet you, through the chat. Hopefully we can work something out and maybe have you over in the near future. And stay tuned for next week's episode. You'll find out more as we get closer to it. I kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up as much as vaguely possible. So be safe,
See how it
stay
goes.
safe. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Juan, for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next week for the best of our week. Bye-bye, everybody.